Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse, episode 257. I am Peter, and joining me, as always, is Matt.
Hey, what's up?
And Connor is also here.
Yep. Just about.
Yes. Although, now you're making me think of when if you're only like half here, like if we just had like a slice of Connor, and there was just like blood and like gore seeping out one side. It's a visual.
Yeah,
It sure is.
I don't like it.
That's what we're doing with the show.
Yeah, well, fun.
Wait,
Do you guys know what today is?
Superman Day, Indiana Jones Day, take your pick.
Yeah, it's both.
Both?
Which is why I'm not. Yeah, it's the 40th anniversary of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it's apparently Superman Day. So.
I noticed there's not as much fanfare from DC as it is when it's Batman Day.
Yeah, right. Because it feels like Batman's just there to sell money. Like it's like he's not actually important. He's just
to sell money.
ATM. Yeah, he sells money. He's Bruce Wayne.
This is the first time here. I've heard nothing today about it being Superman Day. So clearly, yes.
Oh yeah.
Not much of a fuss is being made, apparently.
No, that's a problem.
Yes.
But it is Indiana Jones Day, so. There we go.
All right, there, Dave Filoni.
All right,
Yeah,
so for the audio listeners, Matt has just pulled out. He has produced an Indiana Jones hat, and he is wearing it now.
One of three I own. This is my theme park one.
Of course, yes.
What I wear. I used to wear one to work when I had to work in the sun, but wool hats in the sun do not mix.
Oh, for sure. Is the intention to actually have that on for the duration of the show?
Yep.
Did you not notice how he wasn't wearing a hat? How often do you see Matt without a hat?
I don't know. I thought maybe they're all in the wash or something. I don't know.
Oh, you don't wash hats.
Well, that was the
That's how you
joke.
ruin them.
That was the joke.
Pete, I don't know because I've never seen you in a hat, so I don't know if you own one.
I own a hat. I have hats.
A hat. So many
To be fair,
hats.
I only own one.
Yeah, I don't need that many hats. One hat will do me. It's actually kind of old now. I could probably use a new one, but
Yeah.
I don't. Do you know what? I don't like wearing a hat now because I feel like people think I'm trying to hide up my head because they'll think I'm ashamed of the fact that my hairline's not right at the front, and it's like I don't care. Maybe I just want to wear a hat. But you get these accusations now. It's like, oh, he's ashamed. No, I just it's I don't really like wearing it in the summer anyway. It's more of a winter thing for me because my head's cold.
Yeah, I know that makes sense. But yeah, no. I gotta find a way to get Connor a Golden Knights hat. That's not gonna break the bank.
Yeah. I'll have to see if there's anywhere over here.
But hopefully break his head.
No, let's not do that because I like talking hockey with Connor. It's nice.
Yeah. It was damn good this week.
Oh, yeah,
was
okay.
it?
Enough of the stupid. Sports are everywhere right now. I don't. It's absolutely sickening.
For the first time ever, the Montreal Canadiens are gonna play for the Western Conference Trophy called the Clarence Campbell Bowl. That is wild. And it could be the Knights' opportunity to take it for the second time.
There was a lot
They
of
are
words. There was
very
a lot.
heavily the favourites.
A lot of words in there that I understood on their own, but I didn't quite understand the combination of them. So I think
there's a hockey team in Montreal called the Canadiens.
no, I got that part. I got that part. All right.
Okay.
It was more the.
And normally, Pete, they don't play in the Western Conference because Montreal's in the eastern portion of Canada, right?
Mm-hmm.
But because of this season, they ended up playing the Knights, and for whatever reason, the NHL decided they're playing for the Western Conference Trophy. So, if the Canadiens can somehow pull it out, they'll be one of the rare teams that has won the Wales Trophy and the Campbell Bowl, which is pretty cool.
Aren't they also the oldest team? Yeah, I was going to say,
They are.
oldest team versus the youngest team for
Yeah,
now.
good stories. Storytelling in sports is the best.
It is. Could have a narrative.
Yeah.
I don't believe it. All right, this is DC Comics podcast. We do it together, talk about DC Comics every week. Coming up on this week's show, we have DC Pride issue 1, the celebratory one-shot. We have Detective Comics 1037, Batman the Detective issue 3, Wonder Woman 773, Future State Gotham issue 2, Batman Urban Legends issue 4, and Rorschach issue 9. Plus, I got a Patreon book as well of Animal Man. Do you have one as well, Connor?
No, I got distracted with sports.
That sounds about right. Yes. Luckily, next week's quiet, so you can catch up.
Yeah.
So yes, that is the plan. That is the DC Comics that we will be talking about today. So yes, hopefully you will enjoy the show. We do have some news though. And we have everyone's favorite segment.
No.
Oh, more hockey talk.
Yeah, yeah.
Not your two favorite segments. No, the crowd, the audience, the lovely people.
I would like to see numbers that says that they don't love the hockey talk.
They don't exist.
Connor, Islanders or Lightning? Who are you picking?
It should be Lightning, but I don't know.
I love the fact that most hockey fans hate that the Islanders are good because they play a boring style. So
it's a very slow game compared to everyone else, isn't it?
Yeah,
but it works.
Right, and I like how mad that makes them. So, kind of rooting for the Isle. Plus, a narrative coached by the former Washington Capitals coach that beat the Knights for the Stanley Cup.
Yes, that would be good. That would be good. I don't know. That starts today or tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay.
No, 9 p.m. Monday.
Yeah.
Now I get to ComiXology so I can cheat and make this go.
No cheating.
Use ComiXology UK, Matt.
Oh yeah.
No cheating. So here's the thing. As sometimes happens, there's a sale this week that is infecting the rankings a little bit. Although in this case it's a DC sale. Apparently there's a Green Arrow sale on because there's a bunch of Green Arrow trades infecting the top 10.
Go check it out.
DC did not make number 1,
Holy
unfortunately.
Shit. That is cheap. They've got the Green Arrow by Kevin Smith, the entire thing, the deluxe book. £1.59, so probably like $2.
Wow.
That's
a steal.
That's like a 15-issue trade.
Yeah.
Absolutely grab that, people.
I'll say this. I started reading that a couple weeks ago. Finding it hard to get through, Connor. And I like Kevin Smith. But dear God, is it wordy?
It's so good.
Is it really good? I don't know if I'm convinced.
It is really good.
But Kevin Smith's a hack, so I'm not sure if I can get on board with this.
I'm not going to this type of slander. I like Kev.
Green Arrow Year 1 is also the same price. So everything in the sale is like $2.
That's only 6 issues, right? Unless they added something for the trade, which I only have the 6 individual issues. So
I think there's like some bonus material, but it is still just the 6 issues.
Okay.
All right, we're done.
Trying to see the books that came out this week.
But, I was going to go through this quickly, but you're doing a job of just derailing this into sales talk here.
Well, I'm also buying time to see what came out this week. That's not DC.
Oh, okay. Well, number 1 this week, right now on ComiXology, is X-Men issue 21. Number 2 is Die issue 17.
Oh yeah.
So that'll please Connor because it says
it does. It's a very, very, very good book.
It was okay. I mean, I dropped it off. I wasn't. It was okay.
I only read 1 issue.
I read more than that. I read like 3 issues.
No, me.
All right.
I think I only read 1 issue. It was fine.
I read a few issues. I don't remember how many it was exactly, but it was a few.
I love it, but I never recommended it to Matt because clearly Once a Future was the book to recommend to Matt.
Yes, and that book is fantastic. I can't wait for the 3rd trade to come out, so I can just read it at one time.
Yeah. Number 3 is Excalibur issue 21. So I mean, the X-Men books are selling. I mean, I can't deny this.
Who's writing Excalibur? Do you have that?
I can tell you. I can click on it and tell you.
Would you?
Tini Howard.
Yeah, Tini Howard and Marcus on art. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I don't have much of an opinion on Tini Howard off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I've never loved any of her stuff, but I don't hate a lot of it. It falls into very this is fine.
I think I've only read a short and an anthology book here or there. I don't think I've ever read.
I've tried a few things and it's always been this is fine, but I've tended to drop off.
Then we do fail of a DC book. What's the safe bet to guess if there's the highest ranking DC book?
Rorschach.
No.
I'm gonna say
Joker.
Joker.
Not Joker. No.
Damn.
There's no Batman this week.
There's a Detective Comics.
Yeah, but Detective Comics typically sells lower.
Well, it's the highest ranking DC book as of right now. So
But that's good though, because I
It is
mean,
good.
we
And
enjoy that book.
I wasn't
So-
arguing with the fact that it is the highest. I'm just saying, it wouldn't be the obvious pick just because Detective Comics is out.
Right.
well, the bit is that it's always a Bat book. That's the bit, right? That's the bit. That was the hint. That was the whole hint. If in doubt, guess Batman.
I did guess Joker.
Oh my god. Number 5 is Amazing Spider-Man issue 68, and then we're into some of the trade stuff. Green Arrow Year 1's there. Green Arrow by Kevin Smith is there. The first deluxe volume from Rebirth is there.
Ooh.
Also only $2 seemingly. And then we're to Rorschach, which comes in at number 9-ish? Aye. 9.
Nice.
And then number 10, Batman the Detective. So Batman's still doing well. And then we're back to some X-Men stuff with Children of the Atom. At number 11, Wonder Woman 773 coming out at number 12. And looking beyond there, just a couple of entries down for DC Pride. There's more Green Arrow trades, a whole bunch of them, in fact. Joker is mixing in there in the low 20s. Maybe the price increase in Joker has affected it a little bit.
I would guess.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Still selling reasonably well, but clearly it's not as skyrocketingly high as it was before. Yeah, in fact, it looks like a lot of those Rebirth Green Arrow trades are cheap right now.
I think all of the regular trades are that price. Obviously, you can pick up the deluxe as well, which I think is the first 2 trades. So
Is it only the first deluxe volume that's on sale though?
I believe so.
So that's their hook. It's like, okay, you get to save money on the first 2 volumes technically because you can buy the deluxe, but then if you wanted the rest of it for cheap right now, you have to get all the regular trades, and they won't match.
I think for most people that's fine.
My OCD wouldn't let me do that. I can't do it. It's not possible. That said, though, why buy old DC trades digitally at this point anyway? Just get DC Universe. There's no point.
It's really hard to argue with that. DC Universe is pretty fantastic.
Well, once something's 6 months old, there's no point anymore. Just get the Universe.
True.
Like, if you want it physical, obviously understand. You buy the physical version, but digitally, there's no difference now. It's you just get access to everything, so it's fine. So that's basically it in terms of all that. So I don't know how old Batman Earth 1 Volume 3 is, but that's sort of...
I think that's brand new.
Yeah, that's in your low 30s, so that's selling a little bit. But obviously it's full price right now, which makes some sense. So there you go. So at least it was nice for once for the sale that's interfering with everything in the top charts to be a DC sale. That's nice. So Oliver Queen's getting some love right now, which is cool because it's not like he's got a book right now.
No.
So
No, but we have that 80th anniversary.
That's true. We do have that, which is kind of weird actually that they're doing this now and not when that comes out.
Right.
Because presumably they're going to have another Green Arrow sale when that hits.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Weird, but hey, there you go. So there is some news though. Some things that seem like they might even be a little earlier than planned because it seems to be coming from the DC subscription website or something like that. Sort of kind of, I don't know if leak's the right term in this case, but
feels like they kind of just put it up on their site a week early, doesn't it?
Yeah, because not all of them have like the usual amount of details we'd expect. They don't honestly have a synopsis with like a team and a date. Some of them do, some of them don't. It's kind of hit and miss. One that was definitely intentional was the Jackson book that's coming out. There's a limited series called Aquaman: The Becoming, which would certainly imply that Jackson is going to becoming, at least getting the title of Aquaman during the story. Written by Brandon Thomas with art by Diego Ortega. So this is a 6-issue series. It is his first solo title as a character. And obviously they announced this week to sort of tie into the Pride one shot, which makes a lot of sense. So cool. I always forget. I see the name Brandon Thomas and I'm thinking Bland in my head, but I don't know if I'm mixing him up with someone else.
I had the same reaction, to be fair.
I just know Brandon Thomas did the Future State Aquaman. So if you didn't enjoy that, yeah, I kind of liked it.
it wasn't great. It wasn't bad either, though. It was kind of.
Yeah.
He did. Come to this, he was in one of the backups for the Future State Next Batman. I don't know which one he did.
I think he also did the Outsiders one, which we enjoyed.
It was good. Admittedly, the art was doing a lot of the lifting in that one, but it was good.
True.
Yeah.
So I can't deny that. So that's cool. So that'll be launching in September. So Aqualad. I was going to say it's an Aqualad book, which it is in the sense that it's a Jackson book, but they are calling it Aquaman.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So neat. So what makes me wonder what they're doing with Aquaman then, with Arthur around this time, if they've got other plans for him, or if there's some sort of separation, or if
he's dying in his 80th anniversary.
Oh, possibly. Or maybe we're just going to have like multiple Aquamen running around.
I would suspect he's taking some time to be a father.
That'd be fine. I have no problem with that being a reason. He's on some extended
former ruler, full-time dad.
Well, we can have a book called Aqua Paternity Leave coming out.
Aquadad.
Aquadad. Next up, there's a new Deathstroke book coming. It's called Deathstroke Inc., and it's coming from Joshua Williamson and Howard Porter, so one of the main sort of team-ups of the Flash Rebirth book.
So I know Williamson was real close friends with Bendis. Did he borrow the Bendis cloning machine? Because he's got a lot right now.
Did you see how interesting it was? He was planning on leaving DC after
Really?
Yeah, when it was he had an interview a couple of weeks ago, and it was around the time he's basically he didn't say in so many words, but when 5G was the plan, he was going to step back from DC and not write anything at all. And then things changed, and now he's basically spearheading a lot of it with because I think he's doing the
he's doing the
Crisis. It's called. Yeah,
something like that. He's doing the main death. Infinite Frontier.
Infinite Frontier. He's doing Infinite Frontier. Yeah. Yes. I don't know if this is like too much speculation, but I wonder if like he wasn't a huge fan of Didio by the time he was ready to wrap up his run, and then once Didio left and there was new people like making calls, it's like oh.
And I also feel like with Williamson, he's like, okay, let someone else handle these 5G characters, right? Like I said what I had to about the Flash.
Oh, for sure. And I'm not. And when I suggest that, I'm not necessarily saying there was like even a heated thing or a feud or anything like that. Just that after years of working on Flash, he just didn't love working for him. It doesn't have to be an over the top thing or.
Is it just me, or does it feel more harmonious at DC since DDO got canned?
Oh, it does.
It definitely does. Yeah, and let's say we can't necessarily say this was downright DDO that was the cause, but timing's very coincidental.
Yeah.
So it is. It is.
Nightwing's like the best book at DC. Is there a coincidence? Maybe. DDO's not here to keep
even just the way it's embracing more of like pre-Flashpoint continuity without making a fuss without it being weird or without it like having to boot certain things to fit in its new timeline. It just kind of feels like there's kind of a sentiment that was maybe being blocked before that's at least not being blocked now actively, and the books feel the better for it.
And it seems like with a lot of the big stuff in 5G, they're having their cake and eating it too, right? Because we still have a Ridley Batman book that's coming out.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, they kind of just shifted a lot of it through into Future State, it seems, and kind of reworked a lot of what those plans were in a slightly different way. Like I can see Yara Flor having been a 5G replacement for Wonder Woman, right?
Yep.
Yeah. But anyway, this is getting way off topic here. We've spiraled into this.
So Deathstroke Inc.
Yes, Deathstroke Inc. When enlisted to work with the ages-old secret organization called Trust, who want to take down the heavy hitter villains, he's all in. So,
Trust? I don't.
No, I do not trust. That is a fair statement. I'm not pumped for a Deathstroke. I mean, Williamson, and I think Williamson has shown his strengths since Flash has been done. Everything he's done since then has been really good.
It almost felt to me like he just wanted to hit over 100 issues on Flash, right? And so once he got that, and now that's all out of his system, he's it's reinvigorated him now that he doesn't have to work on Flash.
I don't think it's just that. I think his plans for Flash got heavily changed because of editorial.
Sure, that could be that too. But I don't know. I just feel like if he had all the stuff he wanted to do in Flash that was taking up his bandwidth, now he doesn't have to do that. He's free to do all this other stuff. And as a fan of his creator-owned stuff, I know what he's capable of and how good that can be. I mean, so like something like this, I'm definitely willing to check out.
I mean, when this comes out, I mean, Infinite Frontier will basically be wrapping up, if not done, because it's double shipping when it hits.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be this and Robin that he's got going on, which is a weird pairing of books, unless I'm forgetting another one that he's got going, but I don't think there's another.
No.
So it doesn't seem like too much. It feels like he'll be on 2 books.
Yeah.
Interesting pair of books, though.
Yes.
Robin.
But it just seems he's also working on, he's got the Future State book, right? The Red Hood one. He's contributing to all these smaller. He seems like his name's out there a lot right now, and like good for him. But again, there's always that thing: is how does Johns and Bendis have so much time to work in 24 hours?
The Future State stuff is a good one that I'd forgotten. But at least with that one, like again, like will he still be like? Because that feels like something that might rotate teams between arcs. If it's still going even by the time we get to which it probably will be. But I don't know. It's an interesting mix, is what I think. Though, is you've got your Mortal Kombat Robin stories, a Deathstroke story, which maybe will tie in because Rose is in Robin. So I mean,
Ravager.
Yeah, there might be a connection there. But obviously, Infinite Frontier is like, okay, this is him spearheading like the main direction for the DC universe right now, which I don't necessarily think is going to tie in beyond maybe like a fun Easter egg to his ongoing books, because I don't see Robin Mortal Kombat being like integral to the fabric of the future of the DC universe.
We say that, but you
never know.
Immortality's Immortality's at play, and who knows what that means in DC. We know there's something more going on from issue 2.
You do never know, but hey, cool. The Halloween special this year, your typical $10 anthology book, is called "Are You Afraid of Darkseid?" which is
they just needed the "Are You Afraid of the Dark Side?" That's all.
It's missing it's still meant to be a reference to that show, but yes.
By the way, on Paramount Plus streaming, definitely some nostalgic vibes.
Oh, is the whole show there?
Show. Oh yeah, Are You Afraid of the Dark? All of it.
Neat. Oh, so that's that. Nothing much to add. There's not even a list of creators yet, like you often get when these are announced properly, which is why this feels kind of early. Especially given how late we got Solicits last month, this feels way early in the month to be getting any of these stories, but it is what it is. And then the last one's a little bit weirder. There's a New Teen Titans special reuniting Nightwing, Superboy, Donna Troy, Starfire, and more. This is coming from Kevin Scott with artist Jose Lewis. But this sounds like it's going to be a sort of graphic novel size special rather than a mini-series or anything like that. So this was something else that popped up this week. So, yes.
Which is weird because this is an odd collection of Titans and non-Titans. So, well, I should say non-Titans. Red Hood's really the only non-Titan. But, just Superboy being in there with Nightwing and some of the originals. Yeah. So, but yeah.
Maybe it's just because they're calling it New Teen Titans, because we associate Superboy with a later version of the team that's not the New Teen Titans.
Just Teen Titans.
Yeah.
Adjectiveless.
Yes, even though objectively he is in a newer version of the Teen Titans than the New Teen Titans were.
But he is not in the New Teen Titans.
No.
Right.
But he is objectively in New Teen Titans material.
Yes.
A Superboy, not the Superboy.
Basically, what they have to say on this to make it clear what they're talking about is that this is new Teen Titans material.
New, yeah.
Oh dear. So there you go. That's the news. No, this is it that I missed.
Whoa. The actual announcement from DC about new books that came out this week, because a lot of these were like, just kind of off their.
I did not see actual announcement. What you got?
The return of Fables.
Wow.
Yeah, which was obviously long-running Vertigo book with multiple.
Okay, I don't feel bad.
spin-offs.
I do not feel bad for missing this. Now, the way you were saying that there made me think I'd missed some huge announcement about a big mainline DC thing.
Well, the first thing back for it is a 6-issue mini called Batman versus Bigby, a wolf in Gotham. It's like that's pretty big. What do you mean,
It's a cute crossover with a non-mainline DC thing, right? This is like I'm not saying it's not as lame as Batman Fortnite, but I am equally kind of whatever on it. Okay, I'm sorry.
When they announced a Conjuring tie-in, you're like, no, this is proper DC news. We are covering this. This is being covered on the show. This is more DC than that.
Little did we know that Conjuring book was just a,
I think Connor's overselling my I covered it because I saw it.
Here's the thing, though, Connor. I wish I would have heeded my caution after that first issue and just not watched Conjuring 3, because hooey.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm not watching it until I have to for.
That's disappointing here.
Yeah, it's not their best effort. We'll just put it that way. But
that said, though, it's probably still better than most of the spin-offs because most of them are just dire.
Oh dear.
No, I refuse to accept that it's as bad as either the first Annabelle or Curse of La Llorona. Right? There is no way.
The same director of La Llorona, Pete. That's all I'll say.
That's a bad sign.
It's not a good sign. And this is terms of I wanted it to be good, and just the more I think about it, the more upset it makes me. I shouldn't say upset. The more confused I get why they did the things they did. That's all.
See, clearly Matt's more interested in Conjuring than Fables crossovers.
I am, just because
Fables is huge.
Like Fables has an audience, right? Vertigo crowd loved it when it was being released. I never get into Fables.
I got the first trade thinking like, oh, this is what Once Upon a Time, the TV show on ABC, was gonna kind of be like. And it was fine. It was definitely one of those things that was over. Well,
if I recall,
read, like, the first 4 trades, and I loved what I read.
If I recall correctly, that TV show actually happened because they were actually in talks to do a Fables show before eventually that fell through, and then they kind of just did Once Upon a Time instead, which is shockingly very similar.
Definitely not Fables.
Yes.
No. It's basically Disney's Fables, where it's this town where these storybook figures live, and they came from a world that was, and what happened in that world. It was very Fables. And then I read that first trade, and again, like, this is fine. It might get better, but I didn't have any steam. Like them resurrecting this and putting Batman with it.
What's interesting though is so we have a 6-issue mini starting in I think September.
Mm-hmm.
But then, from May of next year, they're bringing the series back, like just the main series, and it's picking up at issue 151. It's not renumbering or anything. It's just, hey, issue 151's coming back in May with a 12-issue arc.
I mean, that's nice for fans. But the way you said, though, there's actual news, and you were pulling me up, I thought, oh, I've missed some big... there's a relaunch of Green Arrow, or I've missed the relaunch of something.
It's one of the biggest news stories in comics this week. And it's DC related, because it's all being published under Black Label.
And you hit me with Fables is back, and there's going to be a Batman crossover with it. And I'm upsetting people right now who are big fans of Fables.
I know for a fact the audience is on my side in this one.
Look, I have no ill will towards Fables, I don't. But the way Connor pulled me up there as if I'd missed something huge, that was not the caliber of the tone that he had. If he had just said,
the return of Fables is something huge.
If he had just said, oh no, I've got one more thing, and then said, oh, Fables is coming, I thought, oh cool, alright, that's neat. But he built it up as, you have missed the most earth-shattering thing that has happened in our lifetimes.
Out of all the things you just said, this is easily the biggest.
Tony Schiavone, Matt, the greatest night in the history of our sport, the greatest news story in the history of this podcast.
I just want to say, you guys want to hear a fun fact?
Yeah, sure.
The Indiana Jones in the original script was known as Indiana Smith, but Spielberg thought Jones sounded better, so that's what they went with.
I mean, The reason it's not that interesting is just he thought it sounded better. It's pretty dull as far as trivia goes. But
Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm trying to change the subject. I'm trying to talk about Fables.
that's fair.
It's Indiana Jones.
I get
It's Indiana Jones Day.
Yeah, they all came out in 4K this past week. I'm looking forward to buying them at some point.
I know, and I hate that because I have to sell it to Ash. That even though I have the Blu-rays and the DVDs and the VHX box set, why do I need the 4K? Because I do. And she just yelled no. See?
Yes, that was caught on the mics. People could hear that. Very nice.
Okay, so wait, what's your guys' second favorite Indiana Jones movie? Because everyone loves Raiders.
Oh, Last Crusade is the second best one. Yeah.
Connor?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to go Temple of Doom, Connor.
Temple of Doom's a solid third place. The gaping void between Temple of Doom and then the Shia LaBeouf swinging in the trees one is very vast. There's a crevice.
We'll have this conversation one day, not today, because I can go forever. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull isn't as bad as the internet wants you to believe that it is. Granted, it's not the best Indiana Jones movie. It's far from it. And it definitely is the worst Indiana Jones movie. However, it's not prequel, Star Wars prequel bad. There's,
I have no problem with the aliens. I actually think that's a fun idea for a 50s indie movie. It's more the characterization. Like, I have actual critiques of the script in terms of things. So
I know you do, Pete, but sometimes the internet likes to get together and they've had a decision that Crystal Skull is a dog pile, and it's not. Like, you want to see a dog pile that came out the same summer? Go watch The Third Mummy. All right, that's bad.
But I will say this, it's still a nostalgia sequel that doesn't justify its own existence. In the same way that anything else that's came back in the last 10 or 15 years has just existed because of nostalgia.
I don't know about that. I do feel like the story's there. It is a 50s B movie. So it lines up with the timeline. The indie grew with the time. And that's 5. I'm hoping 5 does the same thing. So.
Yes. It's the worst Indiana Jones movie for now.
We got Mangled, man. Mangled has not let me down thus far. So
that's true. James Mangold probably means it'll actually probably be quite a solid movie. And we just have to hope they'll release box sets where it has 1 to 3 and then 5, but no 4, just so that we don't have to be conned into buying that movie again.
If I could buy 4 on VHS to complete the box set, I would. I'll just say that. So do have it on DVD and Blu-ray.
You madman. Yeah. But yes, pointless sequel didn't need to exist. But hey, here we are. Is that news? Are we done? Does Car have any other breaking news stories that we have to talk about?
No, unless you want to talk about football.
I very really don't.
He is thankfully stable in hospital, and they are resuming the game in 20 minutes' time, which is utterly insane. Like, just what a
sports
weird
injuries
choice.
Always get me because these guys are peak athletes. So if it's something
this was particularly horrific because it wasn't like there was a collision with another player or anything. He just he stumbled, he went down, he was having convulsions. It looked like he was like having a heart attack or something. It was horrific.
Are they playing in any environment in which this would happen?
It was a Danish player playing in Denmark. It was in Copenhagen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so nothing out of the ordinary.
Because I have heard about people's cardio not being up when they go to Mexico City because of the elevation, right? Or when they're playing in Brazil in the World Cup.
There are a lot of fears for next year's World Cup, whether in Qatar, which is stupidly hot. I think they've moved it to the winter instead of the summer. It's that bad for fears of heat. But no, this was literally home territory for him.
Crazy. I just hope he's
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Again, peak people, good condition, especially soccer players. That's all cardio. I could never do soccer, ever. Too much running. No thanks. Wait, do you think I could do better than Pete in soccer? Or do you think him being European gives him an advantage?
I would say, Matt, think of Orange Cassidy on a football field, and that is me playing soccer.
Those are dangerous kicks, though, Pete.
Those devastating kicks in the sport of professional wrestling, of course.
Yeah. I've heard that he has to tone them down for the viewing audience. That they're, people can't. All right.
Yeah,
What are we talking about? Books?
like Bruce Lee in Enter the Dragon had to slow down his kicks and punches because the camera
Yeah.
couldn't capture them. Yes, that's the same thing with Orange
Yes.
Cassidy. Yeah, he has to slow down those kicks
Yeah.
so the audience can comprehend what's happening. Yeah, let's talk about books.
Yeah.
So, DC Pride issue 1. This is your big celebratory 80+ page celebration. It says 100 pages in the solicit. The actual page count is something like 80. So, I mean, I assume there's ads in the physical version which make it up to 100.
Yeah.
But so
And there's pinups that look
pinups.
very nice.
Yes.
You know.
Oh yeah, those count in the page count though.
No, I know, but I'm saying it's not like it's 80, 100 pages of just stories. You know, there's adding there and like in everything.
So, I'll read a list of the stories here just from the contents page because finding this digitally every time is going to be a pain. So we have stories Wrong Side of the Looking Glass, which is by James Tynion IV with Trung Lee Win on art. We have By the Victors by Steve Orlando and Stephen Byrne. We have Try the Girl by Vita Yalea and Skylar Partridge. We have Another Word for the Truck to Move Your Furniture by Mariko Tamaki.
Such a weird title.
I know. That's Mariko Tamaki and Amy Reeder. And then we have He's the Light of My Life by Sam Johns and Klaus Janson. We have Clothes Makeup Gift by Danny Allure and Lisa Sterl. We have Be Gay, Do Crime by Sina Grace and Rose Stein.
Possibly the best title.
Ted Brandt. It's a good title. I can't deny it. We have Date Night by Nicole Maines and Rachel Stott. And we have Love Life by Andrew Wheeler and Luciano Vecchio. Maybe Vecchio. I'm mispronouncing that. So as with any of these, there's pin-ups. There's stories of varying lengths. The longest one may be like 15 pages. There's some that are only like 4. Typical stuff. And these are frustrating in a lot of ways because if you don't get over a certain percentage of stories that you really like, it really quickly becomes a chore to read. And this is one of these things where obviously this is for a good cause. It's got a really nice sentiment behind it, and it's out for Pride Month, all the rest of it. But I would say I only kind of liked a couple of the stories in this.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, and it's not like the characters are there. I like the majority of these characters already. But just a lot of the stories, like,
it's not even,
I don't know.
It's not even that they're particularly bad. It's like one of the problems that these anthologies fall into sometimes, especially when we're dealing with a lot of characters who don't get a lot of ongoing stories or ongoing series, typically at any given time, is that we end up just kind of doing the bullet points of who the character are rather than telling a new story. And I think the best example, even though it's got a nice ending, the best example of that is this very first story by Tynion, who's obviously a writer we love.
Yeah.
Right? And we have this Batwoman story. But my God, if I have to read one more Batwoman story about Alice.
Right.
Like
about her sister, and then because of the death of her mom and her sister, her dad and her got really into the military aspect.
Yes.
And it's just like I would have loved,
So
I see a Batwoman. Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
I see a Batwoman story, and we haven't had her have an ongoing in a couple of years now.
Yes.
And she's such a rich character, that they could have told any story with her. And, but they just rehashed her origin.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. It doesn't even explain it particularly well because it kind of does this thing with the Mad Hatter by the end. And it has like a neat little ending, but... And I like how she talks about how she always saw Beth, or in this case Alice, because it's kind of like a weird, manipulated memory, like through the looking glass, right? They'd really go with the whole, the metaphor and the idea that she's always been kind of the broken reflection of the normal sister kind of thing, right? And okay, the metaphors here are nice. What it's trying to say is very nice. Although I will say this art is not for me. Okay, it's just not my thing.
Neither.
Not my thing.
Now the coloring, I do like how the color works. Is the same artist doing the colors? Let me look.
For anyone who's like been listening to this show long enough that you know my taste in art, you probably knew this wasn't to my taste as soon as you looked at it. It's just not my thing.
I will say that I do love the colors because the way that they are, like Kate's red hair really pops against the blue, right? So it makes her feel like a standout. How she feels, she's going through like her sister being quote normal and her feeling like the other side of the mirror. And it makes her feel unique. And then when we start getting other colors mixed in there, like there's a page with Ivy, and then where she's talking about relationships with other people, and like Constantine's on there, and just with the way all the colors work together,
it's basically
it looks great.
It's
the
basically
art, the pencils though, not a fan.
It's basically as she's finding herself and becoming herself as an adult and discovering that she is Batwoman, that she is gay, and she is this and she is that. Like it's as she's like discovering herself, where the color starts to come more and more into it, which is again conceptually is a fine idea.
Right.
But for the most part, it's got this frustrating thing where it is just kind of we're doing the beats of like this book almost serves as here is a glossary of these characters, and for the most part, that's what you get of each one is just a basic idea of who they are.
Which and they had a nice forward by Draco. And there's one thing that stuck out with me where he said, DC's always kind of had a what's the word I'm looking for without just quoting him, a very, very
gay?
Not gay. Diverse. Jeez.
Diverse, there you go.
Like I'm having a stroke. I can't believe you say difficult. Like it's not difficult. It's diverse. It was off the tip of my tongue. Has a very diverse cast of characters, and that they don't just trot them out there, right? Like Montoya was a main character that wasn't like her defining feature wasn't that she was a lesbian, right? It was she was this hard up detective that, had issues with people and a bit of a drinking problem, and they weren't just trotted out for stuff. However, here. There's certain characters that got brought up that I had no idea, it's like, well, where have they been? If we're not just trotting them out for appearances.
A large amount of the characters that get stories in this book don't have ongoings, or they're not main characters in ongoing books.
Well, I'm sure when we get to this next story, not Doctor Strange, I've never...
Yeah, I don't know this guy either.
This character.
All I could think is Constantine's got a Doctor Strange buddy, apparently.
Of course he does.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, I know who Midnighter is, right? Is this a Wildstorm character I'm not familiar with, or is this somebody new? I mean, he's fighting a vampire.
For context here, this character, Giorgio, is telling a story about Midnighter taking him on a date, and in that context, it was going to a castle to take on this Count Berlin, who was a homophobic vampire.
Neo-Nazi vampire.
Yeah, who was trying to erase the gayer parts of history and straightwash it. So
Connor, he was trying to make Patroclus Achilles' friend, not lover.
Oh, so like they did in Troy.
Yes.
Where I think they were cousins.
Right,
or
which
something.
again, the metaphors here work. I just like.
Don't get me wrong. I think that movie is fun.
Yeah.
But they were very gay.
Well, he says so. Here it says Berlin had stolen the bones of Patroclus, hot to rewrite the ancient warrior story with a spell, so that he and Achilles, some of our earliest heroes, weren't lovers but cousins.
Are they blaming this guy for that movie? Kind of sounds
so yeah, they're trying to blame neo-Nazi vampire Count Berlin. So for that.
Fair enough.
But yeah, even this dude what did you say his name was?
It was like Giorgio, I think, was that?
He even has a red cape, and the how when Doctor Strange does the spells and you see the discs,
the circle with the symbols in it, with the magic sort of hologram, if you want to call it that. Yeah, he's got that. He's got exactly that.
Yeah.
So he's Doctor Strange.
Yeah. It's weird. Yeah. Oh no, sorry. Gregorio. Gregorio? What? He's got a weird name. I don't know who this is.
Yeah. I will say that the Stephen Byrne art is great. Like, it's very moody for it's a vampire story, right? Them going into the castle.
I will say this. So what? See if the point of this story was to introduce this character because he's not as well known to most people. That would be fine if it actually did a good job of introducing who he was. But they mention his name once briefly at the start, and then Constantine comes and talks to him, and he tells this story about him and Midnighter, and I'm like, yes, but who are you? I still don't know who you are.
Yeah.
I've googled him. Extrano was created by Steve Englehart and Joe Stan, first appearing in Millennium issue 2. However, in the Prime Earth continuity, first appeared as part of New 52's Midnighter and Apollo by Steve Orlando.
There you go. And this is a Steve Orlando, so
story.
cool.
Yeah.
There you go.
On paper, this story sounds great. You tell me this team up go to like take on a neo-Nazi vampire. Like that sounds like fun.
Wait. Extraño. Y'all want to know what that means in Spanish?
Go on.
Strange. Yeah, Gregorio de la Vega, minor magician. He's from the Guardians of the Universe. He was selected, anyways. Wow.
I'm just gonna call him Goro from Mortal Kombat.
Yeah,
Goro
Gregorio.
Strange.
Yeah. So also, Constantine being queer, is that a thing that's been established?
Yeah.
He's been by for decades.
Yeah, he's been sleeping with everyone who moves for
Gotcha.
forever.
I just didn't know if this was him just using Constantine here,
that's
because
the
of
thing.
magic.
I say bi because that's what people are doing, but
Right.
I would suspect Pan is probably a more accurate description,
Gotcha.
given that I
Yeah.
said anything with a pulse, basically.
Yeah.
Hence when I don't know, I just use the queer term just because it kind of covers.
Including King Shark, if you recall.
Right. I don't.
But
It was in one of the animated movies.
Wait, Constantine had it off with King Shark?
Yeah, in one of the
Okay.
animated movies, he was like, "Oh, that's my ex," and they were like, "Wait, that them?" And he's like, "No, the other one," and it cuts and it's just King Shark.
Yeah. That's funny. Okay, so that his inclusion here then, because again I thought just magic. That's what we're doing with Constantine.
Yeah. So this oddly felt kind of flat, despite the fact that selling me on two guys going to kill a neo-Nazi vampire sounds like an easy sell.
Yeah.
And sorry, an Orlando story fell flat.
I know.
I gotta get over that his name means strange. Oh, come on.
They should have went with like Sergio Strange is his name. Just make it as close as possible.
Yeah.
What's the closest we can go without
Sergio
getting
Estrada.
sued?
Probably this close,
Although
given how he looks.
But he is here, and this is what's good on Orlando. It says Extraño is noted for being the first openly gay superhero in DC Comics, and that was in the '80s. So the fact like he went back and put him in Apollo and Midnighter.
No, I can respect that. Yeah, I can respect that he picked him for that reason. That's the legacy of the characters. He's the first openly gay one. But
however, possibly problematic as they put him in a HIV storyline where he was killed by an AIDS vampire named Hemogoblin.
What?
Sorry, what's going on here?
Okay, the 80s were a weird place.
Yeah, the 80s were like, on one hand, first openly gay DC character, other hand, killed by an AIDS vampire.
But, I still see the value in it though, because the whole idea is you're showing them respect by bringing them back under better circumstances.
Yeah,
so
and that's great. Let's get rid of that part, the back half of that, and let's have it be new. Just let's tone down the Doctor Strangeness. Let's make him his own character.
It's just
gay DC Doctor Strange isn't enough of a difference, right? Like
yeah, it's odd. It's just. I mean, I guess there's lots of stories here where it doesn't necessarily explain who the characters are. You're just expected to know them from DC knowledge if you do know them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe this one just stuck out because both of us didn't know who it was.
Right.
And we read a lot of DC.
Great. Yeah, good on Orlando for bringing that, because now we know who he is, and
I just wish the story itself did a little to help.
Yeah, right. Well, maybe this could have served. If any character needed a rehash of the origin, maybe Extraño, not Batwoman.
Not Batwoman. Yeah, Batwoman is good.
Okay.
And even then, if you're going to do it, just do it in one page. You'll do it, like the origin of Batwoman, blah blah blah, sister, blah blah blah, father, blah blah blah. Right? Okay, go story. Like, next story is Try the Girl. This is the Vita one. This is the Question Renee Montoya story. I thought this was all right. Actually, this is a simple little 4 or 5 page story.
I missed the question, or the Montoya question.
Oh, of course.
So like. I mean, seeing her here, I'm happy. Like, I get she's commissioner right now through Tynan's Batman and whatever's going on over there in Gotham. But reading this was a nice, like, addition here.
But she's not being wasted. She's given, she's in an important position. It's not like the character herself's been forgotten. This is just a nice throwback to her question days.
And it feels like a Rucka story, so I'll give Ayala credit, because Ayala's been real hit or miss with me, especially in these anthology stories. But this definitely felt like a Rucka question story, just because, looking for this, what was she, a public defender? Defense attorney.
Well, she's running for office now.
Council.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's running for city council. She, she's, running on the corruption in the police force, and so that's put a lot of crosshairs on her because she is a public defender, and so Renee goes to track her down, but in grand fashion, this lady can handle herself, as we see.
Important. She goes missing. It's the sister of the character who's went missing, who reaches out to question to go find her. And there's a lot of build up to it, but then when she gets there after a couple of fight sequences, it turns out that she's already got herself out of ties and has beat the crap out of the guys that were holding her. And the whole charm of this story is that Renee's kind of attracted to her, and goes to sort of support her after her winning speech. And it ends with her kissing Renee, and she has the lipstick mark on her mask, and it's just a kind of a sweet ending. It's Renee being kind of just floored by someone who's is tough and strong, and it works because it's simple. It works because it's not trying to retell anything. It's just here's a story about someone who Renee's attracted to, and it works.
Well, and it's someone that is just as tough as she is. Renee definitely has a type, right? And that's what I like here, is that it plays into that trope that. And
also, it's one of the, I'd say, few stories in the book where I really like the art, because there was definitely a lot in this book where I was kind of
And it's moody. It fits that dark side of Gotham. So Skylar Patridge, very good job. Colors too. Jose Villarrubia. Colors are nice too. Little watercolory feely.
And it's nice at the end as well that Renee seems a bit starstruck and awestruck by the kiss, and it's just because she's such a tough character who's usually quite foul-mouthed and ready to hit back. The idea of her being left standing speechless is a nice little character touch.
And what I like too is it says just the beginning on the last panel, so maybe this is sowing the seeds for maybe a Renee question mini or a series, an ongoing.
Maybe,
that'd be cool. I would definitely support it.
Yeah, it's possible. But I say Renee, unlike a lot of the characters in this book, does actually have an ongoing story that's actually bleeding into multiple books. So she is being used in some fashion right now, which is nice.
Yes.
So after this, we have a Harley and Ivy story, which is basically boils down to Ivy being mad that Harley's not ready to call it a relationship. Only for Harley to basically be like, oh wait, really? That's what the problem is? Of course this is a relationship. Of course we're a couple. Blah 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 blah. That's basically while they're fighting a giant weird plant monster. That's
a giant. That's kind of a mix. It's but it's the subtext here that it's not the plant that's causing the plant monster that's causing the tension, right? It's Ivy's feelings. I would recommend Connor tracking this one down if he has time. Because I was getting Harley and Ivy vibes from the series on HBO Max. So think you'd enjoy that. Is he even listening?
I don't know. I think he's watching sports or something.
Yeah. He turned us down. We could literally say anything right now.
Yeah, we could call him.
I can hear everything you say. I was just waiting to see how long you got.
Oh, yeah.
So... Yeah,
again, these are two characters that we get a lot of.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
So,
there's never
especially right now.
There's never a drought of Harley Quinn in the DC.
No, well, and with Ivy right now, she's a background story in 3 Gotham books.
Damn it! I just remembered there was another book announced.
It was based off the show.
Yeah. They're doing it's set between seasons 2 and 3. More Harley Ivy.
Yeah, Kill, Bang, Love, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, saw that. But yeah, no, this one's fun. Amy Reeder's art is kind of hit or miss with me. Harley looks kind of weird, like like her hair ends up looking like the second Power Girl that we ran into in Deathstroke.
Oh,
Like, her hair looks like it has pom poms versus the more traditional that I'm used to with the almost the pigtail vibes. And Harley's wearing a weird hat. It has a flower on it. It's almost like a cabbie hat.
You mean Ivy?
But or Ivy, I mean, I'm sorry, yeah. But I will say the layouts. I am a fan of how they do the layouts, even like with the heart shapes throughout, as they're discussing things, and it's very there's not a typical angle with the panels throughout most of it, right? Like they're all kind of a little bit curved throughout. So
yeah, there's a lot of heart panels and things like that.
Yeah.
This is one where, like, I wouldn't say the art's bad, but it's definitely not to my taste. It's not. I mean, it's not as against my taste as that first story was, where I really kind of hated it. But definitely not my type of thing. And Harley and Ivy, like, I like the characters well enough, but I'm not as invested in like their pairing or whatever. So that's for me was just kind of like fine. But it was like the sort of thing where if this was just on its own in a book, I wouldn't have read the book. I would have skipped it.
Yeah,
so,
I get that.
So it is what it is. I get why they're represented here, though. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Perhaps the most interesting story, partly because it has some continuity. Because the last time we had, what book was it that had the Alan Scott coming out story?
It was the Green Lantern one.
It was originally the Green Lantern one, and then we got a little bit more in the Infinite Frontier Zero.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
So this actually follows on from that. This is Alan meeting with his son and meeting his son's boyfriend in particular for the first time.
That makes this the first part of that story, not by Tynan and Byrne, who did both the previous parts.
Sam Johns is to Tynan what Tynan was to Snyder. So
oh, really?
It's feeling I've noticed Sam Johns' name pop up on a lot of Tynan stuff. So maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but I've seen them collaborate a lot. So I feel like Tynan's, has a work relationship with
a little bit of a protege going
similar.
On.
Yeah. So I like that though, because I like when writers can do that. Like, this is my guy, let's give them a shot to write something that I've done before. But this is, I think, my favorite story. Definitely up to this point, and as we go.
And the book, sure, yeah. So what this is Alan is meeting his son's boyfriend for the first time. They're at this old cafe that was actually, even back in like his day, was like a queer friendly place. Obviously, it was a bit more hush hush back then, but
under hush hush, it was for, as he said, quote, confirmed bachelors.
Yes,
you kind of knew what you were getting into, but you still had to keep it because of the time period.
But the big thing with the story here is that he talks about how the first time he kind of fell for a man, and he tells this story to Obsidian and
to Todd.
Yeah, and it's all very sad, and they eventually go somewhere so he can just project the memories with the ring and kind of show him more of the story rather than just tell him. And the actual heart of it, though, is ultimately, why he was inspired to actually finally come out after all this time is because, he got to see his son be, public and be in a pride parade, do whatever, and the idea that he had people around him to support him in any situations. And one of the things that made him reflect upon was the idea that when his first love did die on this train, that he basically had no one he could talk to about it. He had no one he could express how much he meant to him, or how devastating this was that he lost the love of his life. He had to do it completely alone, and how much regret he had over having to go through it that way. And that's why he finally. So he's like, I came out because of you. You inspired me to come out, and it's a really nice sentiment at the end. So this is probably the best story in the book because it advances a character story that's going on right now. That's doesn't just feel like it's reiterating things. It feels like it tells another part of the story. Obviously it's a character we all love, which is also like a good starting point.
Yeah.
But I wasn't necessarily in love with the art, I will say.
It's Jansen. It's very Romita-esque. But it didn't bother me. It was fine. But yeah, definitely the sentiment on this one, I really enjoyed. Just the whole father-son aspect and him learning from his son, and I felt weirdly when you have a superhero and his sometimes supervillain son, yet it being the most human of the stories. Like that's always a good, you know, a good vibe.
Yeah, it's just the art is like, you know, it's a bit messy in places. The faces are a bit blocky. I hate to say that something feels rushed, but I think Janssen's art to me always looks rushed just because of the style. And yeah, so art wasn't set in the world on fire, but it's by far the most interesting story I think in the book, and definitely the most exciting going forward. Because again, this doesn't feel like it's the end of this journey. It feels like this is just the next part of the Alan Scott story right now, which is being told in little snippets over different parts of DC. Your mic's going there, Matt. Just as we transition into the next story, which is a future Flash story. So this is the Flash from Future State, who we see on a date with their girlfriend. Oh well, not yet.
Andy.
They're going on a date later, rather.
Yeah.
And the joke is that they're going to be late because Flashes are always late.
Right.
So.
And Jess, the new Flash, is trying to fight that because, you know, no, I don't have to do what the other Flashes do. I'm my own Flash. I'm not going to be late. And of course, as they're trying to get ready for the date, of course, superhero shenanigans happen.
Naturally. And it kind of mixes it with trying on different outfits. And this one, I think, had pretty decent art for a start, which is nice. So that's cool. I think what this benefited from is that this is a character who was just recently kind of introduced for the first time in Future State. So it served as a nice kind of bit of focus that the character never really got in that. Because, you know, they were in the Justice League book, they popped up, they had like a story within that, but this was like a nice bit of focus for just this character on their own. Yeah,
because I remember them making a big deal about this Flash being non-binary, and I was like, okay, great. And then we didn't get much of this Flash. Like, they tease all that, and then they show up and are just doing Flash things. So here to actually see the relationship build, it's real nice. And I feel like I want to see more of this Flash. So
yeah, I like the personality so far. I like the facing this new Mirror Master, although they go by the name Reflect, just to be edgy and cool, I guess.
Yeah.
But there's a bit of a fight sequence. This gets a few more pages. I'd say a lot of the stories do. So they're giving this a bit of time to actually really tell a story of a new character. And you know, it ends with obviously the date happening, and it's sweet. So it was fun. The character seems bubbly, and the sense of humor and the type of dialogue does definitely fit with what you think of as a Flash. You know, it sounds like something that maybe Wally might, you know, think through in his head, or Barry might think through in his head. So yeah, that's there. Then we moved on to the Pied Piper story. This is the Be Gay Do Crime. So the best title of the stories.
Easily.
For sure. I have to admit though, this is a scene of grace with Rostein and Ted Brandt on this book, or on this story. And I have to admit, the dialogue in this one was making me cringe a bit too often.
Yeah.
A bit too hip and a bit too, you know, down with the kids for my taste.
Yeah. I'll get you on that one, old man. But yeah.
It's not even so. This is the thing. People crack old age jokes, even though I'm 32. It's hardly aged. But it's not even that. It's like, even when I was younger, like if I saw people try to put phrases like they're in this story into a story, it would make me cringe because it has no place in written work. It has no place in a.
But also, you're old.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
But also, as a Scotsman, you hate when people type out in Scots dialect.
Oh, I do.
Right?
I hate people typing out in slang in general. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And
you know, but no, and the story I like. It's who's this the drummer using Piper's tech to, you know, the area of town that they live in is basically getting gentrified, and you know they accuse Piper of you know, basically kind of selling out. And you know, he's just one of the rich people that's profiting off of this, you know, this up and coming part of town. And you know, the landlord's raising all their rent, so they're gonna, you know, use the tech to get even. And you know, Piper ends up having to intervene and whatnot. So I did like the conceit of the story, but like Pete said, the dialogue was just a little bit too much for me.
Yeah. It basically just ends with Piper buying all the property so that he can just give people fair and affordable rents, and that's the end of it. So cool. Whatever.
Yeah.
Next up, we have the Dreamer story, the Nicole Main's written one, which is very much set in the world of the show. It references Brainy, it references National City, all that stuff. It's very much just meant to be a slice inside the show. Did you think this was strange? How it kind of felt like it was setting up an ongoing story?
It did. So yeah, which I stopped watching Supergirl a while ago. Was Dreamer an actual superhero?
Yes, that did happen before I started watching too. Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, a good season or so. Yeah.
Like I just remember Dreamer being like I remember seeing the suit, but I didn't know if she was a full hero. Like I didn't know if that was the thing because again everything's murky. I just remember the relationship with Brainy and how great that was.
Yeah, I don't know if we ever got to the point where she was out just doing her own cases like she is in this issue, but I mean she was showing up in costume. She was helping fight things.
It's nice that Nicole Maines writes it because I feel that she has a grasp over this character better than most, right? Except for maybe the writers of the TV show.
That's what I was going to say. That's maybe the only people who you could give more credit to at this point.
Yeah, and so just the whole like not wanting to bother Kara and being like I doing my own thing throughout the city, and then the League, was it the League of Shadows?
Yeah, League of Shadows.
Yeah.
Which is the stuff that feels like it's setting up because she's like, I don't want to tell Kara about this. And there was kind of a hint of like the stuff they had, this like vial of, I assume, Lazarus juice.
Yeah.
With the, we just mentioned there was the Harley kind of animated show getting its book. We've got the Superman 78 recently and the Batman one recently. Yeah, we did. 89. Maybe this is setting up that there might be a Supergirl book to maybe follow up some of those stories.
Yeah,
possibly. Unless they've done something really weird and this is like actually a tease for what the plots they've got coming up in the final season that's airing now.
Could be.
Maybe they actually put thought into it and had it tie in.
Possible, yeah.
I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Then Dreamer and Brainy go on a date, and the joke is that because she wants to interrogate this League of Assassins or Shadows dude, she basically brings him handcuffed to her to the date. And Brainy just kind of cracks some jokes and shrugs it off and like, okay, we're weird and quirky, so this is fine. So pleasant enough.
I'll never be mad at Stott art ever. I like Rachel Stott's art a lot.
It's always good.
Yeah, so it fit here.
Yeah. So that was okay. Yeah, that didn't set my world on fire by any means, but it was fine. And then we have what I believe is the last story, Love Life. This is the Jackson story, which because we had that book announcement, I was kind of expecting this to maybe have a tease or a lead-in to the book. And it doesn't really have that. It's just more just kind of an examination of what the Pride Parade means to queer people and why it's important. Because he's at his first parade with his friend,
who I think is the protege to Extraño.
No? Oh yeah, because they mentioned this is the thing, they start referencing this guy, the gay Doctor Strange from story number 2, and I'm like, oh wait, why is this guy so important all of a sudden? He's coming up everywhere.
Now we know. Of course, it's a Pride issue. They're gonna prop him up. Like, great. Wish we would have done that before.
I've got a pretty good guess. When I looked him up on that wiki page, it said he was affiliated with Justice League Queer, which was one of the books in that tournament that DC did. That they're definitely not going to release all the books.
Well, this feels like the backdoor pilot.
Yeah, because they show up in this story.
We even had, I think it was probably the writer of one of these particular stories that's relating to it. Kind of said not to spoil anything, but if you really want to see Justice League Queer, maybe go buy the Pride book and stuff might happen in the future. So I would expect it.
Yeah. Yeah, basically, Eclipso shows up and rains on the parade. Literally, has it rained?
Literally.
Yeah, it's on the parade. And Jackson goes to fight, but then, the
doesn't have to do it alone.
Yeah, the protege dude goes to get help, and then our Goro, he shows up with JLQ, But Batwoman's there, the Ray's there, Natasha Steele's there.
Tracy 13 there in the background.
Yeah.
Apollo Midnighter.
Oh, the couple from Taylor's Suicide Squad is there as well.
Yeah.
Aryan Wing.
There you go, Aryan Wing. So yeah, this is one of these things where the sentiment of this final one's very good. It's a little on the nose at times. It gets a little bit like, and this is why pride is important. This is what pride means, and it's like. So as a piece of writing, it's a little bit okay. It's a little bit too in my face to really enjoy it as a story, but I get why they're doing it. It's fine.
Yeah, definitely. This is one I'll be honest, I did not finish this one, just for the sake of time. But I now knowing about Extraño and all of this, and then how this ties into JLQ and whatnot, like. I mean, that's cool.
I can't believe we're going to have Doctor Strange as the leader of JLQ in like 6 or 7 months' time.
Extraño.
Yeah. So, like, the art wasn't really working for me. It's a little bit too cartoony.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
It's very, very manga-esque, and we all know my feelings about that. But yeah, so and that's really why I was like, this is going. So I thumbed through it. I saw Eclipso. Got real excited, saw the JLQ page, and that's cool. But yeah.
Yeah, this is a frustrating thing to sort of rate as a whole, because obviously the sentiment behind it, the reason why it exists, the purpose of it is very well intentioned, and there's a reason why we made a point of reading this and talking about it when we wouldn't necessarily do it for like the Valentine's Day anthology book or whatever, is because we want to show support when they do something like this, which is very well intentioned. But the truth is that a lot of it was a bit of a chore to get through. The two that I would hold up is the short question story. I thought was nice and pleasant, and I like that. And I thought the Alan Scott ones actually seems very worthwhile going forward. And that's not to say that some other people won't find meaning in some of the other stories. I get if they do, but this was kind of like, oh man, this is really long. I'm not like and it's not as, most of them aren't even bad stories. Most of them are just they're just okay.
And I know a lot of people in the community that are very excited for this representation and that like that's great. Like I'm glad they're getting all of that, and maybe this can become a reoccurring thing in June. DC can have an anthology book.
I would honestly,
characters.
I would bet money there's going to be one next year. Yeah.
So like, just maybe let's have like stories where we're not recapping origins again, and and actually give these characters stuff to do to spin them out into minis or ongoings like they do in other specials, Yeah.
And to be fair, at least the final story with Jackson didn't just tell us who Jackson was. It actually,
true.
It gave us something that was actually it was about something. It had a statement. Same as some of the other ones, but it's just one of these murky things where you sometimes just feel you don't really get a story out of these little minis. You just get kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like here's a 101 of the character in a quick period of time. And the one character who I really felt we needed an explanation of, maybe tell us why he's so important. Why is this character?
Yeah.
Why is Extraño so important?
That'd be nice.
What are you rating them at then?
I mean, I'll give it a 7, just because it's such a mixed bag, but it has 2 really strong stories in there, and then the mixed bag of the rest of them. Nothing that's, I wouldn't say none of them were bad. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of the art in a lot of them, but like outside a couple things, that was fine.
Yeah. I'm going to be a little meaner and go 6, just because.
Okay.
Just because I did kind of feel the churn of having to get through a lot of it, and there was a couple of bright spots, and I do really appreciate what the point of the book is, but ultimately I didn't actually love reading a lot of it. So there you go. That is DC Pride issue 1. Detective Comics 1037, Mariko Tamaki, writing with Viktor Bognadovic on the art, and I read this book first because I was excited. I was excited because Detective's been really, really solid.
Good.
It's been kind of a back and forth of like which one's better, Batman or Detective. And I feel like this one's got an easy victory because the last Batman issue we had was definitely sort of that middle chapter of a story, Whereas
Yes.
this continued to give us swerves and give us like a pulpy detective story that has like sci-fi elements and
Every answer led to more questions,
yes.
right? Like just when we think, oh, now we know what's killing. Well, wait, where did this stuff come from?
And I think because one of the things that I've been liking about this book, and a lot of DC right now, admittedly, but this book has had its good supporting cast. It's been setting up the mayor. It's been setting up this, the Mr. Worth, the crime boss dude who lost his daughter.
Mhm.
This, Huntress is involved. Oracle is constantly involved. Blah blah. But the fact that it paid off, the idea that someone saw Bruce Wayne talking to this new murder victim in the last issue, and that get paid off with Bruce being taken to the jail cell for the night. And and I was like, oh, where's this going? And then this crime boss dude, because he just assumes that he's guilty of killing his daughter because he's associated with it now, shows up with a rocket launcher and blows up the police station.
Not before they evacuate the police station.
Yes. Obviously, he has connections to warn everyone to get out, and Bruce obviously survives, but he.
Yeah,
a weird story if you didn't.
I know. But
just the size disparity of Mr. Worth, right?
Yeah.
Like we see him, and he's
big.
gigantic. Like he's for the wrestling fans, he is Braun Strowman-esque, right? And usually with Batman, right?
But with charisma.
Yeah. And not asking ridiculous amounts of money for.
He's a Wild
independent
West
producers.
version of the Mountain from Game of Thrones.
Sure. There you go. Same vibes. But like when we see Batman, we've seen him fight like Killer Croc and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But here, it just this guy is so gigantic, though. It actually feels like the odds are stacked against Batman, right? He's just been nearly blown up, and they're in the sewers, like I don't know.
And there's a lot of great build up to it as
feels
well.
like a real threat.
Bruce finding out about the new murder victim from the reporter, and then being asked questions by the police, and then we transition from that to the mayor watching this interview. Like he has contacts in place to watch this interrogation, and this is when Mr. Worth shows up and gets really angry. So I had this gleeful smile in my face when it cut to like him outside with the rocket launcher, and then just the demented look in his face after he fired it because he's just furious. I'm like, this has been so well set up that I'm kind of popping for this payoff. This is him crossing paths with Bruce, and then of course you have Huntress doing her own investigation, talking to Oracle. We have the teases early on of the mayor's assistant, and then we see the mayor's assistant go into the back alley, go up to this guy on his phone, and we actually, there was a moment where I was worried it was going to do some sort of bullshit thing where he was going to turn out to be the Joker, because there's a close up of his mouth as he smiles, and I'm like, oh god, don't ruin this. And it didn't. It wasn't that. It was just creepy smile.
It was just creepy smile. Yeah. That never crossed my mind, thankfully.
Yeah. But then, so he's the one who's infecting people, that's making them go crazy, and then their eyes are going all nuts before they die. And we get this full page spread of him opening his mouth, almost Predator-esque. It's sort of splitting into four.
Yeah.
And this green, like, glowing parasite is coming out of his mouth. And when he comes back in later and the mayor's like, where have you been? He's like, I was grabbing a bite to eat.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is a horror sci-fi story now, on top of being a good detective story. I'm into this.
Dude, be creepy.
Yeah.
It was very much a like, it reminded me of The Thing.
I can see that.
And like, everyone's trying to, like, not as much paranoia, but there's definitely, I feel like there's a method to his madness, why he's picking the people he's doing, right?
And I want to talk about just the build up to the explosion, because it's really well done, where Huntress finds out where Bruce is and needs help, so she's on her way, and right as we get that, we have like Bruce say, hey, can I speak to a lawyer or something? And the cop, sounding kind of shady, says, no, we're going to waiver that right now, just sit tight, Mr. Wayne. And it sounds very dodgy, and then it kind of builds from there, where you have the opening of the rocket launcher. You have Bruce, inside the cell, sort of hacking into the security camera, and Huntress is on the way. Like, so it does this great thing where all these things are happening at the same time, and they're all coalescing, and it builds to the explosion. So in terms of pacing, this issue is phenomenal. The way it teases the horror stuff, but then all the way everything builds to the actual payoff of the explosion, which obviously leads to Bruce diving into the sewers. Mr. Worth chases him. and the cliffhanger page is, Batman. He's in full costume attacking him.
I thought that was a really interesting moment as well because Worth says, "Where are you, Wayne?" And he jumps out as Batman and says, "Here."
Yeah,
right.
I noticed that too. Yeah,
I thought that was a bold choice.
I was just gonna say it's as if Bruce knows Worth ain't making it out of this,
Hmm.
So
yeah, it's not like he's trying to kill him though. He's Batman, so.
No, I know, but I don't know. I feel like that's Tamaki tipping the hand.
Yeah.
Like there's not going to be any real repercussions for that.
No.
I presume. I also imagine, Bruce is kind of out of it. He's just been in an explosion. He's maybe not all there in the head.
True. True.
By the way,
Bruce has been in many an explosion.
He's gonna have CTE.
I did laugh though. Hey, that comes up in another book today.
I know it does.
But I did laugh though because Bruce sees when he hacks out the security camera from outside and he sees him with the rocket launcher. We just have a narration box with the censored shit. He's like, shit. That actually made me laugh. I'm just realizing he's about to be rocketed.
Yeah.
It's really funny to me.
And just also the way that Worth just says justice. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was talking about. That crazy look in his eyes. And this is what's funny is that we're dealing with a plot where other people who are going crazy because they're infected are having these crazy eyes, but he's not infected. This is just him going full crazy.
It's just him.
Yes.
Yeah. But not Kingpin.
I love the sequence. I love the full page spread. Obviously, the explosion itself gets the double page spread, right? But then you have Huntress seeing this in the distance and going, "Wait, was that the building Bruce was in?" Right, from a distance, and then you get the shot from behind, the panel from behind of him holding the rocket, and then the crazy face is the whole bottom half of the page. The pacing here in the art is flawless. It just the way it plays out.
Bogdanovich is real good. We've known this, so
it's a weird one because I'd say he's not quite as good as Mora, which we've been having on this book,
right?
But also he's still pretty damn good. So it's while I do consider it a step down from what we've had, it is a very small step down compared to other books that have changed eyes.
I feel like the pairing between Mora and Bogdanovich, if we're double shipping now because this is the first of 2 issues this month, this is probably as good as a pairing that he could have got as the other artist.
And I think Belair's colors are doing a great job of keeping it really consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it feels like a Batman book because the colors.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yes. Right now, this might change the next time I read an issue of Batman, but right now, Detective's beating Batman for me.
Yeah. Well, I feel the story's more consistent.
I'd say overall, I'm still enjoying Batman more, but I would say this issue in particular versus last issue.
Yes.
I'd
give it to Tech.
That's fair. I think Tech keeps surprising me, and not that I should be surprised because Tamaki's, written some wonderful stuff,
right,
a lot, but
I also like that
it's coming off of that Wonder Woman run that we didn't kind of love by the end.
Yeah, it was good. But it wasn't as it wasn't up to the standard we expected from her because she was so good on Supergirl. She was so good when she did X-23. This feels like it's Tamaki firing on all cylinders.
Yeah,
and I'm loving it, and the art's obviously great as well. So it's just.
I'm gonna say you think it's maybe too that this is its own story where it's not doing the Saint Peacekeeper Magistrate stuff as much. There's a little stuff there with the mayor's office and stuff, but this is Bruce trying to figure out what the hell's going on in this rich community.
It's a little bit more unrestricted in terms of that's trying to line up the continuity and set up the ongoing story, where this is kind of doing its own thing a bit more.
I think it's less about what the story's connecting to for me and more just that, well, I'm enjoying the story in Batman. I think I just like this mystery, this alien parasite story. All this story has just been building, has been so fun the way it's been revealing its layers. I've just been into it. There's more of a pulpiness to it versus Batman right now, which I don't necessarily always prefer, but in this case, I think Tamaki's knocking it out of the park. So certainly no complaints on the main story here. We should rate the main story. Matt, what are you giving it?
I'm gonna give it 8.5.
I'll give it an 8.
I'm going 9. I love this issue, so
look at you.
I'll give it a 9.
Didn't see that coming when I read it.
Should have said that like Quicksilver. Didn't see that coming.
Do you always try and predict my ratings when I?
No, but I didn't. What I meant is just as I was reading this, I didn't expect anyone going, "Oh, I'm giving this a 9." Sometimes I read an issue and I'm like, okay, I can see people giving this one a high score.
I was feeling it. I was feeling it. I'm gonna say. We back up, and I'm kind of digging how Tamaki's doing like kind of like complementary stories in the backup as opposed to just separate things. Because before we had the Huntress two-parter, here we have the reporter who's writing a story basically about, you know, like a rich soiree by Lucius Fox to, like, you know, give money to like children's hospitals or something like that. And it's basically her critiquing and saying, no, of course we should, you know, save kids, we should save children, make sure they have the equipment to do so. But does that matter if the kids aren't in families that can afford healthcare? Does that matter if this and that? You know, she kind of criticizes that, oh, this is for all the rich people to show up and, you know, make it look like they care. But is it enough to actually achieve any change? You know,
it feels like it's because it's from the perspective of the reporter. It feels like it's not just Tamaki being like, "Hey, these are modern problems."
Yes.
Right? It actually feels like this is a problem in Gotham because it's like, yeah, who doesn't want to support children's hospitals?
I particularly like the lettering touch, where when she sees Worth and she says Mr. Worth, the bubble goes cold and icy. It's like, oh yeah. You feel the tone of voice through what they did with the speech bubble, and that was really smart.
And I think the reason why this works as well is that thematically it fits so well into, because a lot of Bruce like moving into that street and talking about how the wealthy are separate from the city's problems. Like, it ties in thematically, so it doesn't feel like out of nowhere that we have this backup talking about it from this angle. It feels like it's adding to another viewpoint that we've already kind of touched upon earlier in the run. And again, it's building the supporting cast, because now this reporter lady feels like such a prominent character that we can return to, you know, throughout this run now. Assuming she survived. And obviously the joke ending is the bottle of booze she took from the party, she gets hit by the guy on a bike and it smashes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Gotham for you.
Yep.
So, yeah, no, neat little backup, adds to the overall story. It's a weird one to rate on its own.
It's only like 4 pages.
Yeah,
it's a shorter one, because there's 2 backups in this one, which I should have mentioned as well, actually, before I started talking about them. It's 2 shorter backups as opposed to 1 bigger backup. But I mean, I'd happily give it like an 8. You know, it's kind of this weird thing, but I think it's a complimentary thing to the main book, though. I think it adds to my overall score, but you know, on its own, it's like an 8.
Yeah, the art's not as good, right? So
sure,
I'm gonna give it. I'll give it a 7.5. But yeah, it's good.
I'll be consistent and give it a 7.
Sure. Why is that consistent? You give the main story an 8.
Half a point below Matt, full point below you.
Oh, okay, all right. So then we have a story by John Ridley and Dustin Wynn.
Ridley, all over the place.
I wanted to love this, and then it had stuff in here that made me angry.
Oh, go ahead.
They made Dick into Jason Todd for like a few panels for no goddamn reason.
Oh, that's fair. Well, let me explain what this is. So this is a story set in the past. Obviously, it involves Lucius Fox, which ties into obviously everything that Ridley's going to be doing with the Fox family, and he's already doing in other books and other stories. But it's basically a story in the past where Batman and Robin are out on a mission, and Lucius, who's only just started working with Batman and Alfred at this point, and it's basically a conversation between Alfred and Lucius about Bruce taking in a kid, and you know, does he want to be a long-term partner on this project? Does he want to keep helping? And ultimately, the decision comes down to he wants to help protect these kids because he doesn't think Bruce will, and that's why he stays, as opposed to just believing in Bruce's crazy mission on its own.
I've been getting caught up on Next Batman.
Oh, cool.
And I definitely get what you're saying about what they're doing with Lucius, about how they're making him seem a lot more critical of Bruce and that type of stuff. And I know that's Ridley's point of view, but it's so abrupt, you know.
Doesn't feel like Lucius that we're used to.
No, and it's weird, but it's consistent across all of Ridley's work, so I'm not going to be that upset by it.
Yeah, clearly this is the vision.
Because again, he has the point of view for it.
Yeah, I mean, this is clearly the vision he has for the character, and I mean, I will at least to play sort of the advocate here for him. I do think that there's an argument that Lucius was a bit too much of a copy of Alfred, and that he was just supportive without the sass, and that was just all Lucius was. So maybe giving him this extra dynamic where he was more critical and helps for a different reason is perhaps more interesting and adds some depth to the character that wasn't there before. So it's a getting used to it. I think as it goes on. So yeah, it's this debate between them. So I like the concept of this, and I kind of liked what it was doing. I'm assuming you're just not happy that Dick was on a dark path after his parents were killed.
They got to this point where they're like, oh, he was heading down a difficult road. He was going out every night looking for revenge, just taking it out on random people. And I'm like, I don't like this. I absolutely hate this. I'm angry now reading this book. Why would you do this to me, Ridley?
It didn't upset. I admit it felt a bit darker for Dick's story than we should have, but
especially given that Dick was traditionally taken in that very night, like Bruce was in most retellings. Bruce is there.
I mean, did you want him to be aggressively doing laundry in front of Alfred, like in Batman Forever? Like,
I mean, you say aggressive, I say more showmanship than aggressive, but
when I was a kid, I tried to do laundry like that. It does not work. All right.
Well, if I recall correctly, he lifted up his leg and picked up stuff off the clothesline with his foot. I would hate to see you do that, Matt. To try and do that.
How tall's clothesline?
He was a very flexible 12-year-old.
Yeah. It's a good 7 foot off the ground. I want to see Matt's leg right up in the air.
Not happening. Do I get a ladder?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. It's just a little off. It's not something that upsets me too much, though, because it is such a small thing in this backup story that it's it's a bit of a blip. I don't think
it just completely alters his past and his character as who he was before Bruce. I don't like it.
But I don't like until this shows up again in some form, if it ever will. It doesn't feel to me that this is going to be what they're going to stick to in continuity. It just feels like a blip that we're never going to remember. In months' time.
Yeah.
I don't think they're changing Dick Grayson's backstory.
Really hope not.
I don't think they are. So, which is why I'm not upset, because I don't think they are. So, but from the Lucius Alfred conversation point of view, though, I thought it was a solid thing that it's adding to Ridley's overall work at DC. It's kind of funny how spread out it is over so many different things, but as someone who's read pretty much all of it, because it's but I've been reading all the things it's been dipping into. It's nice that it's kind of like forming something overall. Does make it hard to follow though if you're just interested in the John Ridley Bat stuff. Like you have to kind of dip and dive into other things. But neat. I could throw it in the trade. Throw it in the end of the next Batman Second Son trade.
Yeah, I'm sure they will, because it's definitely informing this version of Lucius that we're getting used to. Also, I want to talk to Pete about that too. I always thought Jace was the second brother, right? Since it was called Second Son. But we find out that Jace is the oldest.
I think Second Son is more from the perspective of us because we didn't know about him.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So he's the second son.
But did you take that too, that he was that Jace is the second oldest son,
as
Luke was the oldest?
As in he's in the younger. I mean, I kind of probably assumed that, but it doesn't necessarily weird me out that it's not the case.
Oh no, but I was just wondering if that was just a me thing.
I think the way I would read it now is that because he was disowned, it was like he wasn't there. It's like he didn't exist. So now he's the second son to everyone because now he's back.
I just got to the point where we saw what he did with the accident, as he's declaring, and as a teenager, I want to hurt him. He's the worst kind of teenager.
Oh sure, yeah.
So Ridley's doing a real good job there.
For sure.
But yeah, so cool.
Well,
but yeah, no, Ridley here. A little weird this pops up in Detective. It's almost like they just needed something to fill pages. Because you're not gonna put this in Batman, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know where else you would put this.
Yeah, I guess it's one of those things. Maybe the point of this is like, you've bought Detective, you enjoy the main story, you enjoy the related backup, and then you've got this little extra story at the end, and maybe the hope is, if you like this, maybe you'll check out more of Ridley's Bat stuff that's coming up because he's going to have a book soon. Maybe that's the idea. So maybe it's more strategic than we didn't know where to put it. But I mean,
True.
I would accept that that's also possible.
I'm just trying to find method to the madness. That's all.
Yeah. So yeah, that's all. I guess we'll rate the story. Matt,
I'll give this one a 7. I mean, it's got when art, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's fine.
I like what it does for for this version of Lucius that we're building, and the idea that Alfred's kind of having to talk him into it a little bit. So I'm happy to give it a 7 as well.
I mean, a 4 because it made me angry. It genuinely made me angry. I was reading it, and I was like, I hate this. I hate it so much.
Of course.
But if it hadn't had those like 3 panels, it probably would have been like a 6 or a 7. Fine.
Okay, there we go. Batman the Detective, issue 3. Tom Taylor writing with Andy Kubert on the art. And this is mostly a flashback issue. This is obviously Batman rushes Descartes to medical care because he's been shot multiple times, of course, at the end of the last issue. I mean,
he takes him to the secret hospital, right?
Yeah.
It's underneath.
I assume so.
Yeah.
I pronounced him dead at the end of the last issue. Clearly, I was being a bit quick with that, but
this story serving as a history of Descartes in Batman. I'm kind of running out of steam.
I enjoyed it
with this one.
personally. Like, I think I enjoyed this more than the last issue because I was like, once it was like, no, this is just a flashback issue, and we're just doing a Descartes thing. I was like, all right, I can have fun with that.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think I'm in the middle somewhere because I'm not like down on it like Matt seems to be, but I'm also like it's still definitely the weakest Tom Taylor thing I've read. This series.
I don't think I disagree with that.
Yeah.
That's
such a high bar that
I go in every time. I'm like, Tom Taylor's gonna get it this time. And then when I read it, I end up reading it, I'm like, this is fine.
It's still a little bit weird because it's felt like lesser Taylor since the start, and it's not even like he's lost it because he's writing like the best book at DC right now at the same time. So
one off.
On for debate. So, but the thing here is though is
that's why I opened the debate.
But I got into this and it became clear early on. Oh, this is just going to be all this backstory stuff with Descartes, and Bruce wanting to learn from him because he's the best manhunter there is on Earth. I say that because Jean wasn't here yet, presumably. But he and he learns from him, and it's all very good. There's a sort of clash of personalities. And ultimately, Bruce kind of turns against him because Descartes does kill someone because he was paid to. Because he's not against killing. Like if he's paid to kill someone when he hunts them down, he'll do it. But once I realized it was going to be like a full flashback thing, barring some bookends, I was kind of like, oh, this is weird. This book is so different from anything that I like. When they sold it as Batman in Europe, I didn't expect one of the 6 issues to be a flashback to his training for Batman days. Like it's a very different book to what I was expecting.
Still mostly training in Europe though, which is Descartes French.
Yeah,
sounds French.
Right.
Traditionally,
that's what I have that assumption, but everyone just calls him Henry, which always makes me think because it would be Henri, right? Surely, if he is French.
Is that spelled differently?
It's
no, but
Yeah.
French like that, like with the H and then the I at the end.
Right.
You know, you'd say Henri, surely.
Yeah, but we just don't care.
Yeah, I'm like, and I was wondering as I was reading this issue because it was just so. I was like, is this just a case of us English speakers just not giving a shit about French and frankly most European languages and their pronunciations? We kind of brush over all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But or is it? Am I wrong? Is he not French?
No, I don't think he is.
I was always understood to me that he was French. And then Liam Neeson, pops up, but then that's just an alias.
Yeah, he's not really Descartes. Yeah.
No, so I don't know.
Whatever. It doesn't really matter.
Weird tangent, I know, but it just popped in my head as I was reading it.
Henry Descartes, is he French? It was,
which
maybe that's what.
So that's the level of this Taylor book in that. Even I'm saying I probably enjoyed this most out of the 3 issues. Definitely more than 2 for sure. But still, I'm reading it, and as I read it, I'm going, is Descartes French?
Yeah,
I'm not entirely all in on it the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, I probably agree it's better than the last issue just because it's a bit tighter and more focused.
I think it being a flashback, it just helped. I was able to invest in. Okay, we're doing this for this issue, and it was easier to buy into, I think, than some of the stuff we were doing before.
I just I know that at the end of this issue, Batman saved London from a nuclear device, and there's a group of anti-Batman trying to take out all the people he saved, and it's not going to look good for London.
So technically, the entire city of London's on watch, is what you're saying.
So like, good storytelling from Taylor. I know how Pete's talked about like the villains that come out of the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we've gotten that a lot lately, from Batman. So I was like, Ghostmaker and all this. I'm feeling the same with his training days. I'm just kind of reached my saturation point on it. And that's just my own issues with Batman. Like, I get it. He's the world's greatest detective.
I feel like we've seen this a lot less in recent years in comparison to, the other problem we're talking about there. But right. I get why you'd be sick of it all the same.
So this being a whole issue of that and their time with Bruce training under him, and, I was like, okay, this is fine. My issues with this aren't actually anything in the book. It's my own expectations for said book, that I bring into them. Also, the art. I'm not a fan of this Kubert art.
Again, that's something I'm enjoying more as it goes on. Again, it's not that it's gone better or worse.
Mm-hmm.
I think the quality is more or less the same. Mm-hmm. But I think I've just gotten to the point where I've gone, no, this is Big Man Bruce, and I'm just like, I've accepted it and I'm enjoying it now.
Mm-hmm.
Like for what it is, even though I definitely see why people would not enjoy it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bruce proves himself by tracking one of the dangerous people off the list down, and that's the one that Descartes kills. I did kind of like the whole opening stuff where it was like this guy thinks Bruce is following him, and then Descartes shows up and says, "No, he's not following you. He's following me. I'm following you." Like there's almost like a fun kind of like I'm not a big spy guy, but there's a certain tone and type of spy stuff that I can kind of get into.
Jason Bourne.
No, that's not really what I'm going. That's more gritty and whatever.
Okay.
I'm thinking more of the movie Charade with Cary Grant.
Okay. Gotcha.
Not
exactly where I thought you were going with this. I really thought you were going to say, the spy stuff. Jason Bourne. I can get behind that type of stuff. This is not that though. That's where I really thought that was going.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he does enjoy the Bourne movies.
I know I do.
Or at least some of them. Not the bad ones.
The trilogy. I enjoy
the first three.
The first three, yes.
The following two, not so much.
Yes. Went off a bit of a the Crystal Skulled it. Is basically what I'm saying.
Let's get through this.
That's gonna be my phrase now for when a franchise goes bad. The Crystal Skulled it, just to upset Matt.
I mean, we could also just Prometheus it.
Yes, Ridley Scott, Crystal Skulled it. Yes, I agree.
I walked into that one, didn't I?
Somehow he Crystal Skulled it with Prometheus, and then he came out again and double barrel Crystal Skulled it with Alien Covenant.
Hey, I mean, he could teach you the fingering. Nothing a Crystal Skull is anything as bad as that. All right?
I'd have to watch it again to argue that point. It's been too long since I've seen it. But anyway.
Well, it's Indiana Jones Day, Pete. What you got to do after this?
I got Pacific Rim 2 to watch and review later. I got that.
Oh, that's
a Power Rangers movie, basically.
Pretty much.
I love it.
You could double bill it with Crystal Skull.
All right, cool. Let's talk about Batman Detective so we can move on to other things.
Oh, I hope I remember to keep doing that because I'm not letting it die if I do. So yes, and I will say this: I did kind of dig the transition to like another like sort of more recent flashback of Batman finding the card. As Batman. This is when he fixes the nuke or disarms the nuke, I should say.
Fixes it. He really wants to make sure this works.
But he's in London. He counters the card and ends up, disarming the bomb, and then takes him in after he gets. This is where he finds out about this hospital that the card knows about, and then he takes the card in because this is it. The cliffhanger at the end of the issue though is that Bruce Wayne is arrested for the murder of Descartes. That he's been set up to take the fall for it. So he's arrested at the end of the issue, and that's the big ending. And that final page, the art of Bruce Wayne. This is not the art of Bruce Wayne. This is the art of like I don't know, like a mob boss. It looks like a mob boss has been taken away here, but that stubble.
He looks like Bruno Mannheim from over in Metropolis.
Yeah, the jaw, or even
I'm saying like it's objectively wrong.
you
I'm
could.
starting to enjoy it more as it goes on.
In fact, do you know what you could do? You could put like a Judge helmet on him, like a Judge Dredd helmet, and he'd look like Judge Dredd. It'd be a perfect Judge Dredd if you put the helmet on. He's got that big jawline, the stubble.
I could see it.
It would work. But for Bruce Wayne, I'm not feeling it.
I feel like this should be the default Bruce Wayne going forward.
It's so blocky and chunky. Even the page before.
From behind, like look at those shoulders.
Yeah, those are Dave Bautista's shoulders. You can't tell me otherwise.
All right. I guess we'll rate it. Yeah, not Taylor's best work, but yeah, I'm in for 3 more issues to see how it wraps up, or sets up the next thing, which I kind of suspect it's going to. So Matt, what are you rating Batman the Detective?
I'm gonna give it a 6.5.
Car?
7.5.
I'll split it out. Split 7. It's a 7 book.
There you go. Look at. I like when we're consistent and makes sense.
It's just, it's not a bad book, but it's also not setting my world on fire.
Look, the only reason I'm gonna keep reading it is because it's Tom Taylor, and I believe in Tom Taylor.
Why wouldn't you believe in Tom Taylor?
Right. If this was any other writer, I would have been done by now.
Yes.
This might have been the one. I'm just like, I don't care, but we'll see where issue 4 goes.
Yes.
Yeah, because Tom Taylor.
Yes. We're not at Crystal Skull levels yet, so we're sticking at it.
If it was Crystal Skull levels, I'd be reading and I'd be happy about it. Because at least it's entertaining.
Crystal Skull does not mean the same in Matt's language as it does to everyone else.
It's just not. It means, it's aight.
All right. Wonder Woman 773, Becky Cloonan and Michael Conrad with Travis Moore on art. So you two can talk about this now. You're together talking about Wonder Woman.
Nice.
Which is now double shipping.
Speaking of stuff that's more than aight, this issue.
Do that, Matt. You're crystal skulling yourself.
That's fine. I'm gonna nuke the hell out of this fridge.
That's what Matt says when he's going for dinner. He goes to open the fridge. I'm going to nuke the hell out of this fridge. That just means he's going to consume everything inside it.
Oh my god! Last night I made myself sick from eating because I've been trying to eat better. It wasn't from my fridge. It was at a restaurant, and the waitress, when she came by, went, "Wow, was not expecting you to demolish that."
What?
She used the term "demolish."
That's almost worth deducting the tip out of cheek. Like, how dare you? How dare you insult me?
Oh no, she was impressed.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
but it's insulting in that she underestimated you that severely.
Oh, sure, of course. Yes.
I almost underestimated myself. We ordered dessert. I did not have room for dessert.
Although
took dessert home.
Nuke the fridge actually is kind of a bad phrase for this. I feel like nuking the toilet's a better descriptor for this type of activity, but whatever.
That's me post Taco Bell after not having Taco Bell for 2 months. It's
all your immunity was gone.
Yeah. Anyways, I get more than I eat. Wonder Woman. We finally get some closure to what's been going on with the Valkyries, and Thor, and all of this Valhalla stuff. Which now I feel like we're coming to an end and we're moving on to something new. But this opens up with Diana at the gates of the Valkyrie fortress. We let her in, and basically she finds out that the Valkyries are just tired of all the war, and we're not doing this anymore. They just use us.
They've just quit. They'll be like, "Nah,
they've quit."
You.
And Diana's like, you can't just quit. There's souls that aren't being at rest, and Siegfried, and they're like, well, we're sorry, but out of anybody, you should understand, like, man's wars, what they mean for us, and they're not learning, and our job is being wasted. And it's not at all what I was expecting. The Valkyries, you're thinking they've been corrupted, or they're just, someone's intercepting them for whatever reason, but no, they're tired of it. And Thor shows up calling her Wonder Woman, which is fantastic because it doesn't work on Thor's dumb and misheard that it's Wonder Woman. it also from her interactions with Odin, you know, she's almost a wanderer now too, much like Odin.
Even after she corrects him, he still gets it wrong.
Still calls her Wonder Woman. And so they, come to find out too that the weapons that Dr. Psycho had made are affecting the warriors in Valhalla. And in probably my favorite moment in this book, Thor and Wonder Woman start to fight, and she takes Mjolnir and crushes it between her hands.
That's good. I think my favorite moment in the issue is Thor fighting the Valkyries. It's like, I need not wisdom, for I am Thor.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. And also when they start to fight, and Wonder Woman goes, "Excuse me, the women were talking." Just that one. That's so dismissive of him. But yeah, so Wonder Woman ends up, taking Thor kind of under her wing here. After this version of Mjolnir is destroyed, he starts to kind of come out of it, and that's where she realized that Dr. Psycho, that his weapons were manipulating their subconscious to enhance the negative traits. And Thor just looking up at her with tears, he goes, "I have negative traits?" And it's just this whole, there's a lot of discussion right now about the whole concept of toxic masculinity and stuff. And I just feel like the pages of Wonder Woman are a great place to explore that.
Yeah.
Right? Because she's not telling Thor, like, you can't be you, right? She's just like, you gotta chill with all the extra bro stuff. Like, it's not good for anybody.
Tone it down a few notches.
Tone it down, and like, all these negative traits are what chased off the Valkyrie, right? And you're letting someone else manipulate you and kind of tell you who you are, and that's not who you are, right? Just be yourself. And again, it's her compassion here, right? Because it's not an actual fight with Thor, she breaks it down to diplomacy almost, right? And she enters the psychic realm and fights Dr. Psycho, who is, used his mental projections to enter the sphere of the gods, where, now we kind of get where she's been.
It's not
why her mission's been muddled.
A huge fight. She punches him once because this is Psycho and he has no
punches
capabilities.
Right? No, she headbutts him. As she says, "No more head games." Yeah.
Oh, the headbutt comes after as well.
Yeah, and so one punch, and then he goes down, and Deadman takes him out, and tells him that they need to get to Olympus. So she sits down, has the meeting with the Valkyrie, and they all kind of, they do agree that things do need to change, but without the souls to feed, without the souls from Valhalla to feed Yggdrasil, then the guy in the roots, I'm having a hard time keeping them all.
The serpent?
The dragon, right? He'll get out. Let's see. Where's the name? Yggdrasil, Fear a Warrior, Nidhogg. There we go.
Nidhogg, yeah.
Yeah. If Yggdrasil dies, Nidhogg will be released, and we all know that leads to Ragnarok. And then, Ratastock is, pleading because that's where he lives, Yggdrasil. So we gotta save it. So they make an agreement that one day at every weekly cycle, there's going to be a break from the battles and a day of peace. So now this is Wonder Woman leaving her mark upon the sphere of the
gods. And what is the name of that day, Matt?
Thirsty Thor's Day. That's pretty on point.
Yeah.
But I'm getting vibes here with Ratastock that he's not exactly who we think he is. I am, and it might just be because I just watched Loki, that I'm getting trickster vibes. They keep telling us he's a bit of a trickster.
Yeah. And he was definitely seeming to be playing both sides with Nidhogg a few issues ago.
Yes.
I also do not trust him entirely.
No. Yet he saves Yggdrasil, right? Which is pretty important. So there's more things at play here. Like, I don't think this is an Ares plot, right? Or a Wonder Woman villain plot. I really feel he is working for his own side.
Yes, I agree.
So Diana goes to say bye to Siegfried. She's going to miss him. And that she's, the whole reason she got into this was because of him. Just for one night, she becomes his guardian. And before she leaves, Siegfried gives her his sword, Graham, which Wonder Woman wielding another mythical weapon. I'm here for that.
Always. And like she says, I could never turn down a sword.
Nope. And he promised they'll see her one day. And Giant Eagle, Lord of the Rings style, picks her up and takes her across the Rainbow Bridge to Olympus.
Which is in flames and
destroyed, and leaves her, which I do like that as she travels through the Rainbow Bridge, her entire uniform changes, right? She's no longer wearing the more Nordic looking tiara or head helmet piece. It looks more traditional,
the silver one with the V that we've had.
Yeah.
Goes, and she has the it's more of a golden helmet now rather than it's the one that comes down over her cheeks as well, not just the tiara.
Not just tiara, right? So something big's happening. It feels like someone was keeping her in Valhalla, right? To while all this is going on.
Yeah, keep her away from stopping this.
So it seems we're done with the Viking stuff. Now we're moving to Olympus, which I'm not that well versed in Wonder Woman, right? Ruka's my main jam. I don't think I've read too much of Wonder Woman actually on Olympus. So this should be pretty.
She interacts with the Olympians a lot,
right? But not actually going to their home, on Olympus. I'm not.
There's a lot less of it, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever happened here, whatever end of days scenario is going on, I'm here for more of it. The art is just as great as it has been. Just a lot of the soft colors here towards the end, like it looks like magic hour, as the sun's coming up.
I love it as they're going through the Bifrost, where the colors are just blending and melding. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, that's it. And again, the whole Rainbow Bridge aspect of it, the bending of light and whatnot. So, and just it was fun to see DC's version of Thor here be more in line with it's not my Thor, right? It's not Odin's son from Marvel. This is mythic Thor,
traditional Thor.
Right. It was fun to see them play with that, and even all the Valkyries here, they're very distinct. That each of them have a different thing. That the art and the story here did a really good job at not singling them out, but giving each of them a spotlight, and it felt like it built to a fitting end here. That it was more than just the Valkyries disappearing. This is why I feel like her getting involved in the Sphere of the Gods is not a messenger, but like a, go down and see what's going on and see if you can solve it.
Be an active participant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that as being Wonder Woman, she can do that. She leaves her, her own realm to go and investigate others.
Yeah.
Thoroughly enjoyed this issue.
Yeah. So really good, solid end to the arc.
Yeah.
Looking forward to, what we're doing Olympus next. Always a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Book's been great.
I'm going to give this an 8.
I'm going to agree.
Oh, man, we line up. And you're not reading the backup, right?
No.
Okay, me neither. I always feel bad about it, but
it always looks nice, and I feel like, I'll read that, and then I get to the end of the issue, and I'm like, all right, I'm done now.
Yeah, it's just a completely different vibe. I'm sure it'll read great, and
I think
when they collect it.
I feel like I'll go back and read them all separately at some point, because I think they're probably. I really enjoyed the first one. It's just they're so different.
Yeah.
To the main story, it feels like it's just whiplash. I'm not in the mindset to read that at the end of the main book. So it'll be something I'll go back and read at some point though.
All right.
Cool. Well, that's Wonder Woman 773. Future State Gotham issue 2. Joshua Williamson writing with Giannis Milonogiannis on the art. That was close.
Milonogiannis.
I was close enough. That was just ballpark. All right.
Dennis Culver in the writing team with Williamson as well.
Oh, sorry, I missed the name. So we had the end of the last issue. So who was missing for last issue?
That was me.
You were missing.
Yes.
All right. So So me and Matt both agreed it was weird this wasn't in color, and Conrad disagrees with that from my
I think it's fine. I'm all for it. I think it looks great.
I think the art's solid. I do think there's times where it's harder to follow the flow of the action because when you get into more actiony bits, it's harder to tell what's going on without the color. But hey ho, regardless, we start off with this the cliffhanger from last time, which is the Red Hood with the current Bat family debating over whether or not the giant bat symbol explosion quake thing, whatever you want to call it, was the new Batman, was Jace. I mean, they don't call him that, obviously, they don't know who it is, but
yeah, let's call him the new Batman.
And Dick and the rest of them are like, no, we'll handle this. It's, it's Bat Family-esque stuff. We'll deal with it. We're not jumping to these conclusions. And they have a bit of a fight, as you'd expect. It's fun action stuff. Red Hood uses like some of the tech. He's got this big drone that he kind of jumps on at one point because now he's
Peacekeeper Red.
Peacekeeper. That was the phrase I was looking for. I was trying to remember what they call him because it's not Magistrate. That's the name of the organization. But yeah, Peacekeeper Red. So he's got all this new fancy tech now, and they're using that. We got some fun action sequences. But we get into some more sort of crazy stuff as it goes on, with someone we don't know yet who explodes one of the big drones, and makes this big public statement that it's this whole thing. And you know what? It does a decent job here of having this character stand out in the crowd. He almost looks like Green Arrow, actually, just because of the goatee and the.
It really reminded me of Oliver Queen.
Yeah,
just with an axe.
Yeah. This is from the multiverse. So, an axe wielding version of Oliver Queen.
Being that it's Williamson and he just brought back Connor Hawk, is there a chance?
I mean,
we get Connor Hawk versus Jason Todd in
can't rule it out.
Trying to save Gotham.
It's not out of the realm. Honestly, where the art's at its best, and where the lack of color does not matter at all, it's when we start getting the running in silhouette, like into the alleyways and stuff like that. That's where it really the black and white works wonderfully there. There's no denying that. That's where the simplicity shines. And kind of as we kind of knew or expected, Bruce is the one giving Jason orders, but he doesn't want the rest of the Bat family to know that he's alive yet. Because Bruce, likes to play his long game and keeps his secrets and whatnot.
Classic Bruce.
I would suspect they're going to be particularly happy about this when they find out, but
when are they ever?
True. It's doing a job though of making Jason feel important because Bruce is the one that he's trusting him to do this. But I do like that now that we've established the rest of the Bat family in the book, we do actually cut to them on their own as well, where they're talking about what to do. It's Dick and Tim, I think.
I feel like I really missed something by not reading the Tim future state issues because properly because Tim's immortal now.
No, I feel like from the one issue I read, it's the Lazarus resin. So it's something based off of the Lazarus pit goo, right? And now he regrows things, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I just kind of went with the flow. I was like, okay, sure. You're telling me that he's immortal now.
I did too, but I was like, what's going on here with Tim?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is one of these moments as well where the simple art and the black and white can hurt things. When the two characters pop in, it wasn't until the next panel that I even knew it was Stephanie because it's just it's so low detail and some colors would have helped here. If I saw the purple, I'd have been like, that'd have been Stephanie. And I have no idea who is the other guy. I don't know from that panel.
Nope. That's my main problem with this book is there's so much going on, and because of the lo-fi style they're going for, you have to get a lot of context clues. I
mean, I'm sure I said this when we were talking about the first issue, but
I assumed it was Jefferson because he was there with them earlier, right?
It probably is. Yeah, but it's not made abundantly clear. This is what I was saying last time. Is when you shoot a movie in black and white, you shoot it differently because you know it's in black and white. I don't necessarily feel like this book's been drawn with black and white in mind.
It was a mistake.
I disagree with that. That was a mistake. I think here you can tell it's Steph because you can see the eye patch at the long shot, and you can see the bat on the chest.
Can you see the eye patch?
Yeah, when they're in the doorway, you can see it over her head.
That's just like part of her hair.
I mean, I want to tell you, it's there.
It's just
There is an eye patch going across her face over her head, like it is in every other time you see her, and then she's got a bat on her chest.
Okay, you see eye patch. For the record here,
it's a bandage.
It's more of just a strip of fabric, right? And it just blends in with the hair in that long shot.
Fair enough. But the bat is on the chest. Can't argue with that.
I mean, the bat's on the chest. Lots of characters have bats on their chest, though.
Yeah, but given that there was only 4 of them on the fight earlier, and there's 4 of them here now, it's probably reasonable to assume it's those 4.
There's just some shorthand. There was so many times where I had to think a bit more about what I was looking at just to make sure I knew what I was looking at.
Fair enough.
You know, there was something I felt in the first issue. We do get, Jace popping up, the new Batman, later in the issue. And obviously him and Jason are thrown into the ruckus together. And H says, hey, that wasn't me. I'm Batman. I ain't going to do that.
Yeah, Jason's off to visit Arkham Knight for reasons.
Yes. Jason, pulls that I was trained by the real Batman. And I'm like, yeah, this sounds like snotty Jason. The cliffhanger is, though, is while he's visiting Arkham Knight, Astrid, which, obviously none of us really liked that arc. We all dropped out of Detective when that stuff was going on.
Yeah.
That's not like a thrilling plot development, but the cliffhanger of the issue is that all of the cells are opened up, so they're basically surrounded by bat villains at the end. So Jason are going to. That's really weird to say, actually. That I've just said the two names back to back.
Call him Tim.
No, that's even more confusing.
That's the other way around. Okay.
And you think maybe that's why they started calling him with Jace? Because
which one is he wanting to go by Tim, or is he wanting to go by Jace?
No, Jace. He wants Jace. Tim is the original name.
Fair enough. I've not been reading it, so I forgot.
Yeah. So it's just weird though is to say it back to back like that. Jason, because they sound similar.
Yeah, and they got what? Clayface, Two-Face, Zaz, Croc.
Now, and this is after everything. So these are all the. See, because we didn't read that Arkham Knight one either. We read that first story and we're out.
Oh, okay, because it was bad. I don't feel bad about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
there was future state backups with Arkham Knight stuff, wasn't there?
There was,
yeah.
Yes.
So was that before or after? I don't know. They're all locked up here in Blackgate. So
I assume it's before this. I assume they got captured after the story.
Okay.
And that's where we are just now. I could be wrong, but
and now they're extra angry.
Yes. I mean, maybe this will lead into what they were doing in their own backups. I don't know. I'm not going to think about what they were doing before. I'm just going to take it in the context of what's in this book. I definitely like issue 1 more, I think. Overall. But I'm curious to see where it's going with the various things. It's one of these weird things where I don't like. I think a lot of what it's doing is fine, and I'm into the characters enough and wanting to see how future Dick and Steph and even future Jason and how he handles this and whatever. But this issue didn't set my world on fire. I've said that like a bunch of times this episode. Sometimes you're just attached to a figure of speech that you use.
It's one of those weeks.
Yeah, you say a phrase for like a week and then you leave it behind again for a while. But yeah, not as good as issue 1. Not great, not bad.
No, I told Connor yesterday when we were talking about hockey, I wasn't going to read this, and then I woke up extra early this morning and I just read it. So
I was wondering why you were like getting involved. I was like,
it's one of those things where if more books keep getting added to the week it's coming out, that because it's a future state book, because it's not the present continuity, it's the easy drop.
Less important.
Yeah, it's the easy drop because of that. And if it was like knock out of the park amazing every issue, then it wouldn't matter what it is, obviously.
Right.
But because it's kind of on this teetering level of it's all right, yeah, it's doing some interesting stuff, but not amazing. So we'll see.
I think I enjoyed it more than you two did, by the sounds of it.
Well, okay. Anything you'd like to add then?
I do not quite understand the disliking it being in black and white. I really enjoy how this personally. I just enjoy how distinct it looks from everything else.
Mainly, I want it to feel like Blade Runner, and this does not feel like Blade Runner.
Well, I'm okay with it not feeling like Blade Runner.
You know,
I don't
one
know.
thing of Blade Runner I like is the aesthetic, and I don't even get that here. You know,
You're kind of getting that in Detective Comics, though.
Yeah.
To be fair to Matt, though, a lot of what we got in Gotham and Future State was that aesthetic. You know, it was heavily there.
It was. I'll give you that. But given that the stuff we had before, it was very like Akira influenced. What we had with Jason in
Is that anime?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very anime manga. Yeah. But there was a lot of that influence in the Red Hood story already. That this just feels natural. Like it doesn't feel out of place to me.
I think that's the reason why I forgot Williamson was writing this, because it's the one that out of the Williamson books I'm less interested in. Because Robin's really good, you know, and Infinite Frontier's looking great, or at the very least interesting because it's the main big, you know.
Yes, whether or not it'd be great remains to be seen.
But it's the sort of thing where it doesn't even matter if it's bad. I'm still going to read it all and talk about it because it's the big main DC thing.
I've learned not to make those statements after Heroes in Crisis.
Yes, because you get cut out. You had a gotcha moment.
Yes, I did. I regret nothing.
You know, but I feel like Heroes in Crisis is losing. You know, people know. So, I think Connor made the right choice.
I stand by it.
I don't regret keeping up with it and be talking about it. We're on a DC Comics podcast. I expect to talk about the main event going on.
Yeah, but when the company is kind of like, hey, don't remember that. Look over here. Don't look over there. You know.
Well, then we get to be happy because we're in better times.
True.
You know,
We definitely are.
Not even just kind of either. Like just vastly, we're in better times now.
I mean, even like a book like this, I kind of seen DC publishing like this weird black and white book just a couple of years ago, and not like, because obviously we've had like Batman black and white. I could have seen that coming back a few years ago as like that anthology, but this is just, it's a regular book and we're just going to publish it like this. I don't think they would have made that choice before, so I'm glad they are now. Whether or not you like it or not is kind of irrelevant to this part of my point. Is that I just appreciate they're doing it. You know, they're trying something different.
Yeah, I just like it. I just think there'd have been better books to make back black and white versus this one, but you know, as well, what it is. Especially since we have all these back characters who are all color coded, typically. You know, Dick's in the blue, Steph's in the purple, Red Hood's obviously red. You know, Cass will have a bit of yellow on her black, and then you know Jefferson's they'll have his lightning in blue and whatnot. Yeah, like there's mostly different colors associated with each character. But yeah. So yeah, and there's a backup as well actually. Just to rate the main story though, Matt, what are you giving it?
I'll give this a 7. It's okay.
Fine.
I'll give it an 8.
Oh, 6.5. That's 6.5. Yeah, perfectly fine, but yeah. The backup though, which I forgot this had backups, to the point where I almost just said I'm not going to read this, and then I saw the writer, it was John Ridley, and went, oh shit, okay. I guess I'm reading that.
And Olivier Coipel
yes.
art, that's what I was in for. I will say I enjoyed this one a lot more than the last backup.
Yeah, and also I think this art lends itself to black and white a lot more.
Yep. It's kind of a shame because I love when Coipel, the colors, because the art's always so dynamic. However, this looks great. Like the shading, shadows, everything for the story, especially.
Yeah, and you know, it's quite important to the overall thing because this introduces the idea that Jace, his little sister, is going to become like his Robin. She's not using that name, and she's not going to wear that outfit by any means. But effectively,
which sister is that? There's Tam. So you got Tim, Luke, Tam. It's another T.
Tam's the one in the coma. Tam's the one that's the little one. I can't remember her name. What's it? Gracie? Is it Gracie?
I don't think so.
I don't know. You can look it up.
They all have T names except for Luke.
They never mentioned her name in this story, I don't think, so I don't remember it well enough. I'm terrible with names. I need a lot of reinforcement before I'll start to remember first names.
I know, it took him like 3 months to remember my name. It's fine.
Yes. Well, you know. So... But that's the big thing here is, you know, he's in a tough predicament. He's getting beat up by thugs, and she shows up to help, and we get some action sequences that look great. before they ride off on their bikes at the end. And that's it. But it's the purpose of it mainly is to introduce, like, hey, she's like his Robin, and that's going to be a thing in the future, and that's kind of neat. And they've already had a bit of a bond in the next Batman stuff, so this makes complete sense that they're introducing this thing.
Tiffany.
Tiffany, there you go.
I know it was a T name. Yes.
Right. So, I mean, it was all teased then until Tim decided to change to Jace.
Well, and Luke.
No, and Luke.
Oh, Luke, I suppose, yeah.
Which is a form of Lucius.
Unless you want to start spelling that with a T and call him Luke.
Why is he so special? Why is he not the only one with the T?
Firstborn gets priority? Oh, he's not firstborn, is he?
No, he's not. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I don't know what to tell you then.
Feels particularly because, like, he got the priority name, right? You know, with
Mm-hmm.
From
Lucius. Luke is short for Lucas, and Lucas is a diminutive along Lucius, right? Along the same lines. Therefore, that's why he gets.
He got the good name, and then why save that for your secondborn?
So his wife's name is Tanya. So the T's on that side, the L's on the other side. You may have wanted to break it up a little, but they didn't. So now you have Tiffany as not Robin with Jace, who completely got rid of the naming convention by adding a J in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
what a dick.
Yeah.
Well, hey ho. Yeah. So that's neat. Actually, I like the back up a little bit more in the main story just because it introduced this cool new dynamic and idea. And their relationship's been fairly sweet as well. So
I like that they're fighting the Igloo boys. And this show really has his pulse on. You know, they're basically a fascist group of racists that used to work for Penguin, but now run their own thing. And once they find out the Jace is, this Batman is black, they really turn it up. And so Tiffany comes and, helps him out. And, Jace beats the ever-loving hell out of them. And she even points out, like, you laid a little extra in there.
Do you think the abandoned Penguin because Penguin supported the Penguin gay marriage from Parks and Rec? Remember that episode, Matt, where the two penguins?
Most likely.
Yeah. I just remember that. It popped out of my head. It just popped out of my head there because you mentioned Penguin.
Mostly.
What is going on?
Mostly. I would also say mostly that I don't remember what Penguin's up to during Future State, but it was made that they were former. So even like Penguin had enough of their. And in my head, I like to think that Oswald's a different class of criminal and doesn't put up with racist fascists in his ranks. So
maybe. Yeah, that was neat. It feels weird to rate such a short story because some of these backups are really short. But
Matt, you might go.
Mike's going. So I'll ask Connor first. What are you rating the backup?
7. It's good. It's not long enough to be anything more.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll go 7 too. Matt.
Well, I'll say 7.5.
There you go. Just has to be a little more positive. Has to give it that Matt spin. That's all right. Next up, then, Batman Urban Legends issue 4. So the other big weird Bat book. Well, this is all obviously set present day. Variety of stories in here, continuing some of the ongoing stuff. We start off with the Red Hood story. A lot of Red Hood this week. What, did they have to be both Red Hood focused books on the same goddamn week?
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty good though. It's kind of annoying.
This is good. I have to admit. I thought both this and the Grifter story. Not that I'm saying the middle stories are bad, but both this and the Grifter story I thought had good chapters this week.
Because it feels like those are the main two stories, and everything else is, I don't want to call it filler, but they don't get the priority.
Well, no, I didn't mean compared to that. I meant compared to the last chapters, though. So just in their own arcs, I think these were too good.
No, well, that's what I mean too. I think from the beginning we felt that the middle two stories always they pale in comparison to the Teardrop and the Grifter, just because of the, I don't know.
They're full size issues. They're full size miniseries, effectively.
They feel like a full book. The other ones feel like anthology stories that they're dropping here.
Give a little bit of benefit of the doubt this time in that Batwing story falls into what the other ones have been, but the Tim Drake one is part 1 of 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that might develop into more of an actual story as opposed to some of the other ones in the middle.
Yeah. So there's a lot of flashbacks here in this Jason story, which I actually thought were used very effectively, and I thought the way it transitioned into and out of the flashbacks at points in the art was very, very smart, and how the story flowed in and out of them. But mostly, I just loved the art on Mr. Freeze. I loved kind of just how dangerous the freeze gun was, and kind of like, you know, like the second page of this freeze fight where Jason falls through the floor. Like, it's just this, you know, giant beam of like ice light coming down, you know, through the floor. It feels like how dangerous this actually truly is. I think as much as I love sympathetic Mr. Freeze in a lot of ways because it does work really well, there's also the idea of this Mr. Freeze stalking you through a building, and you can hear the modulation on his voice like coming through the helmet, and he's got the red eyes sort of glowing. Like he's a proper horror movie villain in a lot of ways.
It's creepy and it's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool. Mr. Freeze is cool.
I was good. Yeah, I realized like it's creepy and he's cool. Would have worked just as well. But
is he as cool as Cold Snap, or is he cooler?
He's cooler. Cold Snap. Cold Snap's like, you know, he's a cold snap. He's just it's a bit of, you know, quick bit of cold.
I think he's cooler, but it just doesn't last as long.
No. I don't think he can be cooler than Viktor Freeze. It's literally in his name.
He's you know,
You're saying it's not in Cold Snap's name?
I don't think so.
Do you know what Cold Snap's name is?
I do not, because I don't care. That's Pete's job. I don't care about Cold Snap.
Pete, what's Cold Snap's name?
I've forgotten his name, to be honest. What's his name?
Cold Snap, fan of you.
An ironic one.
Like all the old people like Cold Snap. I'm into Minister Blizzard now.
Is Matt getting hipster on his cold villains?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, we all know me. I named a bunch that I like more. Remember we did that?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
You know.
If hipster is like, you know, if Mark is the wrestling equivalent of hipster, I wonder what the real life equivalent to Smark is, because that's what Matt's being right now with the cold villains.
So Cold Snap's real name is Daryl. They don't know his last name. Just Daryl.
He's so cool. He's a mononym.
Yes. Daryl, just like Cher.
Yep.
Daryl. Cold Snap is the Kristen Skull of ice villains.
That's why Pete likes him so much. Heyo.
Oh, very good. So yeah, and even just this idea that he's trapped, where Freeze has actually frozen up all the exits of this building, so he's actually trapped in there with them. Again,
and
also
guns don't work.
Yeah,
it's too cold, which I like. That's a nice, nice twist. Fighting.
And
Mr. Freeze?
The flashback story, of course, is Jason as Robin. Like, they're investigating something that his mum's involved in, so he actually goes down and gets involved, and Batman's told him to stay back. And Joker's involved here as well, so it gets really dark very quickly. Of course, Jason makes the wrong choice and, you know, goes in head first. And, you know, we have basically Jason yelling for help to Oracle, yelling for Batman, and Babs tells Batman where he is, and even makes a point of saying, "Hey, he asked for Batman, not Bruce." And you know, Batman's like, you know, I'm coming, son, kind of thing. But this is where it transitions wonderfully into the flashback, because it transitions into Batman in the past racing to young Jason at this, you know, Joker incident, and this building's just on fire, and you know, we have him finding the body of the mother and like holding Jason in his arms. And then it cuts back to present, and we get this cool ass car chase sequence where, you know, Freeze is in like a freeze truck, and there's like ice explosions happening in front of Batman as he's like driving, speeding down the road. And
a frozen Jason thrown from the explosion.
Yeah, I thought that was really hilarious. Funny. I mean, the art here's a lot of fun. The only complaint I really have is that one panel of Batman using the grapple hook, where his body looks really weird,
out of proportion.
Yeah,
he almost looks like he should be in Batman Detective. He's a chonky boy here.
Yeah. The frozen Red Hood, you know, statue, as it were, you know, flying out the back of the truck is really funny.
It is. And then the way it just lands, it just lies there.
Yeah. So it's really good stuff. And then you have these thugs come up from behind to, like, you know, shoot him. And you know, Batman
lets Freeze get away to come and rescue Jason.
Yeah. So it's much like we said, but this is probably the best issue or the best chapter of this story since the first one. because it has a lot of what that first one had, which was this heart. So this heart about how much Batman cares about Jason, despite all the disagreements, despite all the conflicts they have. The idea that Barbara frantically tells him, no, he asked for Batman, he needs help, he's in trouble, and
the idea this is being intercut with, a retelling of Death in the Family, Batman's greatest failure.
Well, and I like too that when you get whiny Jason, it's that Batman left me to die. Yet here, Zdarsky's turning that on. Jason's like, I should have listened. I didn't listen. I ended up there. So it shows some maturity.
Yes, he's still making the same mistakes, but at least this time he's like, yeah, I'm still making the same mistake. What am I doing? Yeah, I was actually surprised I didn't get to like actual crowbar territory. I was expecting to see some of it.
No, I'm glad that they showed some. They showed some restraint here.
I like what they did because we all know the crowbar. We all know what story this was telling anyway. You don't need to have the crowbar there. It's kind of overdone in the same way. It's like the pearls. So I don't need to see the pearls anymore.
Oh, of course.
So this was more effective.
I actually didn't get it at first. Like I didn't get it from the first scene that it was doing Death of the Family. It wasn't until like he went to go see her. I was, oh wait, I'm just occurring to me now which story this is, what memory this is. And then of course, it plays out with the big, holding him in his arms and all the rest of it. The cliffhanger though is that as Batman's saying he's going to help Jason, as Jason's sort of barely getting any words out because he's shivering and freezing, Batman gets hit with the freeze ray, and Freeze is standing next to the guy responsible for this drug that he's been tracking down since the start. So this cheer drug. So, and this character presumably is also called Cheer.
That's what I'm guessing.
I'm going to assume so, especially the story's called Cheer as well.
Yeah.
So,
and also just because he has a big, it's almost like he's like he looked at the Watchmen button and said, I wanted that to be my character. So he's painted his face yellow with a black smile.
Well, and there's it's not quite a Joker smile.
No.
But it's a big, creepy smile.
Do you know what it reminds me of?
What?
The visual of the smile on that is Jack Skellington from Nightmare Before Christmas.
On his suit, right?
Yeah, on his suit.
Because the colours are flipped on the suit. Well, actually, they're not really. They're actually the same, but it's just because it's much bigger. It feels flipped.
Yeah.
Yeah. He looks alright, honestly. I think he's a fine enough design for...
Yeah, it looks fine.
A one-off villain, presumably. So, Freeze looks great, though. Look how great Freeze looks there on that last page, with the kind of the silhouette with just the red eyes glowing and the blue ice behind them.
So good.
Yeah. Hard to mess that up. So... so this time he's actually screwed up Batman's. So just for anyone who was, hasn't been following this along, this was Chip Zdarsky writing with Eddie Barrows on art, like it has been for all the chapters.
Eddie Barrows and Iba Ferreira on the main art, and then Marcus Toe on the flashback.
Of course, the flashbacks have a different art. Yeah, of course. So, yeah, really good. What are you rating this first story, Matt?
I'm gonna give this an 8.
Connor?
Yeah, I'll agree with the 8.
I will also agree with the 8. Really solid stuff. So cool. This is the Batwing story, and this is where it's called Superman Punch. So I feel like there's a lot of opportunity here for Matt to tangent into wrestling related jokes.
Question though is, does he go over like Roman would?
Apparently Roman's pretty over as a heel right now. I've not been watching that, obviously, but my question is though, this should be called the Orange Punch, was my thought when I read this.
True.
So Batwing's chasing down Riddler. Riddler hits him with a bunch of riddles, and there's a whole AM PM thing. So it both separates the M, but keeps them connects them as well.
And again, I like that this does more with the Luke, and this is what made me realize that Jason's older than Luke. Was the story here?
Of course, yes. I think that's where I learned this too. Yeah.
Yeah. So, he goes. He remembers, going and asking him, to help with the Superman punch, which I think is good because when we were first introduced to Luke Fox, he was an MMA fighter, right? So the fact, he's, of course, that's what he's doing while his brother is actually studying and stuff. So basically, they trade information, right? Like, hey, can you show me how to do this? I'll help you with your homework, and it just shows the bonds of brotherhood here. And yeah, and it allows him to figure out the riddle before Riddler wants him to, and where he surprises him with Killer Croc, which I thought was a fun, little surprise.
And basically from there, they fight it for a bit, but he's able to sort of talk Croc down.
Yeah.
Croc's like, yeah, I don't really want to be doing this. It's
No.
like, if you lead me to where Riddler is, I'll give you a head start, because you've served your time, because he says, I've done my time in Suicide Squad. He has actually served his time for what he's done in the past. So, and of course he wins the fight ultimately with the Superman punch, which is where it comes into it.
You fake the knee and lean into the punch.
Yes,
so,
it actually is the Superman punch from wrestling, which is
it's actually an MMA move. Like you get it to
really?
go around someone's guard. Yeah. It's based off a real it sounds cooler than it is. I mean, it's basically a feint technique to break your opponent's guard. But yeah,
someone gave it a cool name, so
yeah,
this stuff.
I mean, Conor McGregor was really good at it back when he was at the height of his So,
which is funny to me, because it's like in the way that Happy Gilmore does the run up for a swing.
Yeah,
it's kind of like doing an extra little move for momentum for the punch to me. When I see it.
Yeah.
So
you get them to drop because they focus on the knee, and then you punch through an elevated thing. So I like here because that's kind of what he does here. It's at the end, it's a feint. He sends Croc back to Riddler,
who seemingly chases him like a dog. On all fours.
Yes.
Hilarious.
That was weird.
Yeah. I have a problem with it. I know this
says, "You're my get out of jail free card, Ed. Come here." Like, there's the creepy connotation.
It's like with the big tongue, wagging. It's like it looks like a dog.
Yeah.
It's just a strange choice.
It's actually kind of funny just how many short stories we got this week that all tie into the ongoing story that Ridley's doing with Jace and the Fox family, and there's so many little parts of it sprinkled around this week.
This is interesting as well, because written by Cameron Johnson, who I believe is the guy who is the actor of Luke Fox on the Batwoman show.
I was actually just scrolling back to try and find out, because I knew it wasn't Ridley, because I knew this one stuck out because it wasn't Ridley who wrote this one. But yeah, that's the actor from the show.
Yeah, this is the counterpart to the Nicole Maines Dreamer story that we got in the Pride issue.
Well, that's pretty cool.
But what's funny is that this is so in continuity with everything that's going on in the comic versus the Nicole Maines one, which was like, no, this is just in the show, it's separate. Whereas this is Luke in the comics right now, and it ties into everything going on with his family.
Is he doing a lot of Batwing stuff right now?
The actor?
No. Like Luke in continuity.
No.
I've not really seen him.
Well, he
shows up to yell at Jace for not being part of the family.
Yeah, he was Batwing in the next Batman last issue I read. So he has popped up as Batwing recently.
This is what I mean. I can't remember the last time I saw him as Batwing.
But even if he hadn't been, like, the idea of like this tying into the family stuff and his relationship with his brother, like, it's still relevant to everything going on. So
I agree.
Yeah. So that's kind of neat. At the very least, if you are encountering all these different stories, it does feel like they're building something. So
very
Matt,
cohesive.
what are you giving this short?
I'm gonna give this one 7.5.
Connor?
Just a 7 from me. It's good.
Yeah, I'll give it a 7 too. It's good. Yeah. I enjoyed reading it. It added some stuff to the overall tapestry. Nice. Then we have a Tim Drake story called Some of Our Parts. This is part 1 of 3. Megan Fitzmartin writing with Bilan Ortega on art. And you could tell I haven't read the long-running Tim Drake solo series that happened back in the day, because when a character showed up later in this issue, I went, who is this asshole? And then there was a little editor's note saying, last appeared in issue 140 of Robin. I'm like, wait, what? Jesus Christ, that's going back.
That is going back. That's a deep cut, that one.
Yeah. And this is kind of one of these things, though, that as much as I didn't get it myself, I'm like, you know what? I'm happy for all those long-time Tim Drake fans who read that entire run, who got this when they met this character.
And also, I don't think it matters. That in terms of this story, I don't think it was hurt if you didn't.
Oh no! In terms of this story, it doesn't matter. But in terms of
that the writer went in, found a character.
Yeah. In terms of DC letting writers go back to continuity like this, I think it is important, but not.
No, it's important. I meant it's not important if you haven't read it. Like you're not hurt by being out of the loop or anything like that.
Yeah. So. Yeah, basically there's a teenager's being kidnapped in Gotham. Tim's looking into it. There's even some Oracle stuff here, so again, current status quo, Oracle contacting all the Bat family members in Gotham.
Mhm.
And even a little joke here about, I'm not calling you Drake, what are you going by? So a little dig there at the
So good.
crappy name. Yeah. Hard not to enjoy that. So Tim's looking into all this, but he's meeting up with a friend for dinner, and turns out it's this guy named Bernard, who is from his solo run from back in the day. And they're catching up and all the rest of it. But of course, the suspect behind these kidnappings, which is this, was it something Chaos Demon?
No, Chaos. Shoot.
Chaos
Monster.
Monster? Chaos Bastard?
Chaos Monster.
Chaos
yeah,
Monster.
That's what it is.
There you go. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, stop the Chaos Monster.
And the cliffhanger is kind of obvious where it's going here, is that his friend, is the one who gets kidnapped next. So he's got a personal stake in stopping this and finding the bad guy. The Chaos Monster's got a really interesting mask design. He's got like horns kind of on there. Interesting design, I'll say.
Yeah. Got a bunch of dots up there and stuff too. Like, it's definitely unique.
A lot of eyes is what they are, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, you two are the bigger Tim fans. I mean, were you guys happy with this?
It's fine.
I'm not unhappy with it. It's not like a particularly amazing Tim story. But like I said, it's like 7 or 8 pages, if that.
Yeah.
Maybe 10.
And it's nice that they're getting away from the whole Drake thing, that he could be Robin and not Red Robin. Because I like that they point that out. He's like, well, it's not like Damien's using it right now. So,
it's fine. I don't think it's like, it's not like this is why we've been missing Tim. It's not like a really strong Tim story, at least not yet. Maybe it will be by the end.
Yeah.
As for what we got in this issue, I like it more than what we got from that first issue of the Future State by the same writer. So
that's fair. Yeah. Yeah, it's okay. I probably like the Batwing. Out of the middle stories, I probably like the Batwing a little bit more, though. It felt more, I don't know, relevant in context, but I'm not mad at Tim getting to be around Gotham and also be in the loop with Oracle and solving crimes, even if the crime as of yet is not as interesting.
So apparently this guy back in the day in the old Tim books was a huge conspiracy theorist when it came to Batman, because he noticed that he had all these different partners, and that to him Batman was stealing from orphanages to make Robins. So yeah, he says he has a secret theory that Batman owns secret orphanages through which he selects children to become Robin when the previous one dies, as well as Batman working for a secret shadowy government that runs everything. So it seems like they just, instead of just making a new friend, they just pulled it from Tim's history, which is cool. Right?
Yeah, no.
It's easier for everyone. Easier for the writers and the artists. They got ready-made design and character template ready to go. Editorial just have to go, yes, sure. And then fans of that character are like, oh, hey, we get them back. Everyone wins, right?
Very much. All right, so the final story. Well, actually, we're rating this. I should rate it.
Sure.
Matt, what are you rating it?
I give this a 7.
Connor?
Same.
Yeah. I'll give it a 7. All right, final story. Grifter. The tease that he's actually meant to be killing Lucius ultimately is obviously there, but we find out the cliffhanger with Deathstroke was a bit of a cop-out in the sense that this fight is a charade where Grifter has paid Slade to come and fake fight him so that it'll draw out Batman. And he set a trap for Batman. He's got these chambers ready for Batman entering.
Like you do for a bug or a mouse. And it doesn't go well for old Grifter, which is one of my favorite things so far, that he is a character that every time he has a plan, you can almost count on it that he's going to screw it up somehow.
I mean, I like these caucuses, but I like the dialogue where he's he's talking to the person on the comms and he's like, oh, you're about to owe me money because Slade isn't going to kill me. And even after it was revealed that this was all a plan by his and he paid Slade off, he's like, I'm not going to accept I've lost this bit yet. He still might kill you. That banter back and forth I was enjoying. And then Deathstroke saying this wasn't going to work, and then they hear a noise and they've trapped something in the tank. And he's like, see, I'm about to win more money. More people losing bets. And then, of course, the punch comes out and it's actually Superman who's in the tank.
Mm-hmm.
I love the idea that Superman's so just like casual. He doesn't check the doorways like Batman clearly would have done.
Yes.
Right.
He just flies in and is like, oh shit, all right, I guess I'll just punch my way out of this.
It's because it's just a metal tube. And then I love that Deathstroke's like, yep, definitely not paid enough to deal with this. See you later.
I'm out.
Good luck. Yeah.
And the sort of joke in the back half of it is that there's these assassins show up at the party that's at Wayne Enterprises, and they come after Lucius, and Lucius is trapped in the balcony. And there's kind of this like countdown thing where Grifter's trying to get away from Superman. He's on the run from him. Obviously, his minutes are numbered here, but they've got teleportation tech. He tries to teleport him to Wayne Enterprises, but because Wayne Enterprises have got anti-teleportation tech installed, it doesn't work, and he just beams back to where he was, and he's like, shit, I'm still being chased by Superman. So that's a kind of a funny beat in and of itself. And then it takes time to charge back up, so he has to wait, and he can't just do it. So he says, like, okay, send in Z. And I'm like, wait, Zatanna? Like, he's got Zatanna?
No.
And yeah, so the big reveal is that he's got this. I assume it's another Wildstorm character. Yeah,
former member of the Wildcat. So it almost feels like that Rosenberg is a real big fan of this era, and he's doing his version of it, which is real cool. I'm happy for him.
Absolutely, he's and Grifter's trying to steal Superman, but like shooting at a monorail train to fall down, so Superman has to go save that first, and then so there's a lot of like just fun action as he's trying to stall. And the joke at the end is that Bruce actually is too late, but this other character here,
interesting as well, because his override clearance was denied.
Yes, that maybe is an important little plot beat that'll come back up. But the Zealot just stabs the assassin, and very, very matter. And this is so a 90s character. Look at those like lines on her face,
and then just jumps off the roof.
Yeah, and jumps off the roof.
Which I remember seeing in Solicit something about Zealot, so kind of when they said Z, I was like, okay, we're getting Zealot. So
your main jump there, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if Voodoo's gonna show up at some point. Maybe that's who he's talking to.
Oh, maybe.
On the other end, and there's Spartan, and then there's the guy that's not Wolverine. There's clearly Wolverine. What
that succeeded in was that the action was always fun. Like, Drifter on the back of this taxi, trying to buy time as Superman's chasing him, just teleporting away in the nick of time. And then just the joke of Bruce like coming out the window and be like, I'm here, and Lucius is like, you're a bit late, Bruce. Already dealt with the assassin. There was the constant like momentum and comedy to the whole thing, and that's when this Grifter story's been at its best. When it has to slow down to do exposition, like last part is, that's where it feels a little bit weaker. I think this issue, because it was just constant entertaining like hijinks and tension and suspense.
Yeah,
that's where
it's kind of a shame that next issue is the last one, right? For this story.
It's a 5-parter.
Like 5 parts. Yeah.
So,
but I almost feel like there's gonna be more Grifter stuff coming, just because it seems to be well received.
For sure, and Batman tells Superman to leave at the end. That's the ending, because he's onto this Grifter stuff now, and Lucius even is aware that he's stolen some data. It's like, okay, this is wrapping up now. So, it's a fun time though. Art's good. Art might even be the best in the issue. It might beat the art from that first story.
Yeah, maybe.
I think the action is
really solid.
The action is really good in this, the way it's drawn, the momentum of it, and the layouts. So
I think it beats the present day art from the first story for me, but I think the flashback art is stronger.
All right. I can see that. Even though there was all that great stuff with Mr. Freeze, I think the art quality here's just a little bit higher. But I mean, it's down to taste a little bit, I suppose. All right, Matt, what are you giving the Grifter story?
I'm gonna do an 8.5.
Oh, very positive. Connor?
I'm just gonna give it an 8.
Yeah, I was gonna go straight 8 as well, but I'm happy.
It's taking a book that, or a character I don't care about, and I actually look forward to see what happens. So, that's a pretty good, direction for Rosenberg to go.
Yeah, for sure. So Rorschach issue 9, Tom King and Jorge Fornes, getting late in the game with this book here, as we're getting closer to the ending. And this issue, we're back at the farmhouse that we kind of spent a lot of time at last issue, but this time it's the investigator actually going there himself and effectively just piecing together like what happened here, what the conversations were. And I talked about transitions in one of the other books. There's a constant great thing here where it's doing the sort of the warm tones and the cold tones. The warm tones being present day, the cold tones being the flashback. But there's a great transition here where the kid, where she ends up appearing in the other color, and you realize, wait, she's transitioned into present day. And it's not that she's literally there, of course. It's the idea that our main character here is talking to a version of her in his head. But that transition was fantastic because you just sort of like clock it and go, wait a minute. And it's really well done. So I thought that was really good. I'm gonna let the cat out. So you say so.
No, yeah. So the thing with this one is, so the last issue had that really cool thing that you had the 3 different characters going over what they had done at the farm, and you could kind of piece it together. Here, though, it's very much more understated, that it is him walking through, and we don't know if this is exactly what happened, but this is what he thinks the conversations were that would have led them to do what they did, right? So that's the interesting thing here, is we don't know if this is the 100% truth. This is just what we think that he thinks, right?
Well, I don't know, because I was kind of reading it as this is what happened, and he's trying to like imagine what happened. So I don't know if he's necessarily piecing everything we're seeing together. Okay. What I do think is interesting though about this is that in every single example where it shows you like a scene in the present day and a scene in the flashback, in every single scenario, he's standing in the Rorschach position. In every single example, he makes the noise, and it's always exactly where Rorschach was in the corresponding scene. And I don't know. I think we kind of theorized before that could possibly if we're really believing that in some way the Rorschach spirit is actually like reincarnating in other people, like. Is some of that fire, is some of that spirit manifesting in our main character? Is that kind of what it's doing here and showing us and the framing between the two scenes?
Yeah, definitely. And that it's the deeper he digs, the more consumed by it he gets, right?
Yeah. He's going down the rabbit hole in so many ways.
This is the most interesting thing, because I said when you were gone, this is pretty understated issue. Like, I don't feel like there's a lot to discuss in like the grand scheme of things, because I feel this is the creative team pulling things together now. We're going to see how they all fall through. But the most interesting thing for me here is the idea of the comedian and Rorschach being on opposite ends, right? And you get into the philosophies of that. And you have the kid, explaining this to Meyerson, that, he goes, if you're Rorschach come back to life, then maybe Charlie's the comedian. Because, the way I see it, there's 2 forces in the universe. They're always at war. So if you're Rorschach, then he's the comedian. And that with Rorschach, that's you. That's meaning people look at your face and they see something about themselves, something true and lasting. And, with the comedian, it's almost this nihilism of he knows what life's about, and he's in the background laughing about it, And
I think ultimately knows that it's like none of it matters and it's meaningless, so therefore he's going to control it and laugh at it for his own pleasure.
Exactly, and to him, the truth behind the thing is there's nothing behind it. So he smiles because what else are you going to do? Versus Rorschach going like, no, this is the truth. It's black and white. And sure, people can take meaning from it, but at the end of the day, facts are facts.
Yeah, I mean, it's the idea that the idea of a Rorschach test is that everyone sees something different in it, but it's always reflective of who they are. So so the comedian's whole thing and what's represented here, but the idea of this, Turley having the big, because she mentions that she's heard that he has a big comedian, painting in his office or whatever. The idea that's about like having the fake phony face, whereas Well, obviously everyone sees something different in a Rorschach, the idea being that that reflects reality back at you, and you have to accept the way things are, and therefore, for better or worse, obviously Rorschach, the original Rorschach, wasn't a healthy response to how to fix the world, but that didn't mean that it wasn't necessarily a good counterpoint to what the what the comedian's philosophy was.
Both sides can be corrupting, and that's what you do with it ultimately, right? So when you think about the Watchmen, who's in the middle there? And it's Night Owl and Silk Spectre.
Well, I think that's a really interesting phrase you just used there, is that both sides can be corrupting, because the end of this issue introduces a very interesting idea, which is that so as he's looking through the house, the investigator finds that this carpet was put down unprofessionally. It sticks out to him, so he lifts it up, and there's a big blood stain. And he talks about this and how the ghost, if you want to call it that, of the kid is saying, "Hey, well, it was my arm. That's when I got shot." He's like, "This isn't an arm. It's too much blood." And it leads them to where this body was dumped. They killed someone here, and it's someone who's been buried in this silo out back.
Septic tank.
And a septic tank,
which I don't want to know what he did to get that body out. Because...
Oh, yeah.
Ew.
So and it's where he finds a pager on this body, and he calls the number that's on it, and he's asking, "Hey, I got this number that's on a pager. I've never seen the number before. Who is this?" And it turns out that this guy worked for the head of the campaign for Redford. So in some way, and when we get the flashback as well of the old man Myerson and the kid, talking about this guy coming to see them, it's because he's got credentials that will get them into the press event, the press conference, the rally that Turley's going to have back in issue 1. So it's like, wait, was Redford, or at least someone who worked for Redford? I mean, well, not Redford himself knows about this is another question, but someone working for Redford was actually kind of sponsoring them in their attempt to assassinate the opposition.
Yeah. So it seems like
that's a big deal.
Because he finds it. The only thing he can find on this body is the pager, and he calls it, and it runs it back. He's the deputy campaign manager for the re-election of President Robert Redford. And it cuts to Rorschach, Myerson and the kid, and how they're in full costume at this point. So when they come to meet him, he's like, "Redford wants us to succeed. He wants Shirley killed. He's going to help us. It will be good." And so it's like they've fully been corrupted by whatever. Because there's another moment too where the kid's talking about stuff and about what, her dad hated Redford, right? I'm trying to think where this is at. He said, "My daddy hated him with every fiber. Because he just thought he wanted to take things from us. And we're going to shoot the one man who could challenge Redford. He would be in flames with anger because, but they talk about that's what the squid are, right? Is that I'm trying to find it. So that's what the squids are. The inevitable, I'll get it, absurdity of the abyss. Like dirt on the ground, and it's just what's beneath your feet in every car. So there's this whole idea of the spectrum of stuff now, right? Of, Rorschach and the comedian and Redford and Turley and the whole idea of the squid and her dad, and just how far off the reservation were these people, right? They're pulling at all these things, and is that going to affect our protagonist? Is this what breaks him? That into that Rorschach, the seeking of the truth is, almost like it's this Lovecraftian, pursuit of knowledge that drives you crazy.
I mean, I have no idea how we're going to wrap up the story with this main character, but I so much of this, so one of the great moments of the art that I really like is we see her draw the comedian's button in the sand, and then when it cuts back to our main character, he's looking down, and you can just faintly see the circle. You can't see the details. It's obviously mostly went away, but it's the idea that the bright sun behind him, it's like the harsh light of day, and now it's sort of someone's actually looking at all of this now after the fact, and it's there's just all this build and all this kind of like quiet reflection, and the idea that that our main character is now seeing a version of the kid that he's now talking to in his head. Like, is this an example of him going further down that rabbit hole where he's now starting to talk to someone like that? He's digging out this body on his own. It's all starting to feel very unhealthy, and how it, like, deep he's getting into it in many ways. And I think that's one of the many interesting things about this book is just this examination of a fairly almost personality lacking character to begin with, and how as the story's going on, it's kind of filling in through just these minute reactions to things and what's not being said. It's really good stuff.
Yeah.
And it's that idea again, talking about the great transitions. When he does make that phone call, when he tries to find out the number in the pager, and when he hangs up, it cuts back to the cold flashback, and it's the same shot, and then it's like Rorschach's on the phone at the bottom of the page in the same position again. He's always in the exact same place that Rorschach was. And these comparisons between the flashbacks and the present day,
Right.
which leads to the conversation about the guy coming to give them the passes. And because it's a very downbeat ending. Actually, it's not like a big cliffhanger moment. It's just it's them talking about this guy coming. Myerson says Redford wants us to succeed. He wants Turley killed. He's going to help us. It will be good. And you feel like this is not as clear cut as he's making it sound. Like, obviously a confrontation happens. Is it as simple as they didn't want a witness to who they were, or is it more complicated? Did this guy try to confront them about what they were doing? Was there a disagreement about what the plan was? So on.
Right, but as it goes, you see them get suited up more and more, right? At least Rorschach, at least Myerson, right? Because he puts on the mask and he puts on the hat and then the overcoat and all that stuff. So when this dude comes, he's going to be seeing the kid in Rorschach, not Myerson, and I forget what her real name is. So, again, if they were worried about witnesses and stuff. So, again, it makes me wonder if, like, again, their corruption of the fact is this guy's like, well, no, we don't want that. But they just need to get the passes because they've already made up their mind, So, yeah, whatever it is, I'm still impressed with the storytelling. Yeah. Again, this issue was so understated compared to the last one, but it's still, there's still so much to go in this overall mystery.
Yeah, and the final panel, again, it transitions back to the present day with our investigator sitting in the same place that Rorschach was as he was saying this to the kid. And it's just him sitting silently contemplating the fact that he's discovered a connection of someone who is here with these characters who connects back to Redford, and what that means for the overall scope. Because, typically what we hear in this book is a very, like, the people who hate Redford, so they're a very particular part of the political spectrum, and they say all these awful things about him. They say that he's taking things away from us. It's that kind of very, devout belief in, like, antagonistic attitude towards them. Not that necessarily we get a lot of stuff praising Redford, but we kind of, just from the context of how they speak about him, it sounds like he is very positive on the other side of things. But then you get to this and it's like, wait, if he's conspiring to kill the opposition, like, okay, how consumed by, are these? Because I think there was a point in this book where we thought the kid was very, we questioned why they were killing Turley, because we thought that she was going to be very pro, like, his side of things based on her father. But this issue, of course, makes it very clear that she knows she's going against the wishes of her father, because her father would hate that she's doing this.
Right, and also that there's a thing where she said that she dreamed about her mom and her dad, and then goes, "You think I'll dream about Turley after I kill him?" And I was like, "Well, we know she killed it. What happened with mom, right? Like, there's just this darkness to her that, man." So who knows? And
even the trust between them, where Myerson's willing to, like, hold out something for target practice, where she's, like, sniping from, like, this distance to practice with a moving target, because she's hitting the shot every time, but he's like, he'll be moving around though. We have to practice with it moving. So is this level of trust in her, his belief in her ability. And one of the I think I theorized this like 2 or 3 issues ago, but I said that I just threw out the idea that what if their whole game plan here is to inspire the person that comes next, which is, our main character? If the goal here is not actually to succeed in the murder, but it's to inspire the person who's going to look into
keep it going.
Yeah.
You got to keep the memory of Rorschach going, and whether that actually is the spirit of Rorschach jumping into him, or he's like, oh no, this is what the facts are. I have to fix the world.
I would suspect that they're talking about the reborn spirit of Rorschach, but in actual reality, it's more just the idea and belief of Rorschach.
It's that once you look at the truth, and then it drives you insane.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to be him right now. He's almost or he's going to be the one that breaks it, or whatever. And that's maybe what it needs. You need to break the spectrum, because I was getting very much light side, dark side of the Force type vibes from the whole comedian Rorschach thing. But it's not as simple as that. And even once you start getting into that whole stuff in Star Wars, it's not that simple. So
yeah, because Rorschach was not a sympathetic character.
No,
he was
right, and that's why I brought up Smoke Sector in Night Owl. Right, when you read the original Watchmen story, they're the sympathetic ones the whole time.
They're the human beings in the middle that actually you want to root for. Yeah,
exactly. And Night Owl was right. He was Rorschach's partner, and kind of Rorschach going too far is what kind of led him to retire.
And that's not ignore the symbolism here as well of the fact that Meyerson drew her drew her a drawing of Rorschach, and that portrait of Rorschach got hit with the bullet that was aiming for her. There was a gunshot, and it gets right through its head, right through the head of Rorschach on the wall.
Well, not just that. Wasn't that his character that was based off of, that Rorschach was based off of? Right? In the comics?
Oh, was it? Maybe it was, yeah. I just looked like Rorschach to me. but
that's the point, right? That's the question, character that they're all kind of based off of.
Yeah.
But as I was saying too, I want to wrap up my Silk Spectre thing, is she's the daughter of the comedian, right? So, that whole aspect of it too. And those two being the kind of normal and being pulled in those different directions.
Yeah, and Laurie, like the idea that her dad is pro the comedian guy. Her dad was pro Turley, and that she's the daughter of that, and Laurie was kind of the daughter of the. There's like a parallel there between them.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And there's a lot working here. So, cool.
Yeah, it's neat. It's a very, very good issue. I mean, not surprising because these have all been fantastic. So.
Yeah.
But no, I'm super excited about the next 3 years. I can't believe there's 3 more of these to go. Jeez,
I know.
Spoiled, and we're starting the Supergirl book next week. So, more on that later. What are you rating Rorschach issue 9, Matt?
Give this a 9.
Yeah, 9 out of 10, which is almost a low score for this book at this point. But 9 out of 10. Cool. So. Just to wrap up then, I do have one Patreon book. I would have pushed it, but I'm still catching up on last month, so this is the last Patreon book I've got from last month. Every month at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. Patrons at one of the higher tiers can make myself or Connor read a book, and one of the books that I am working through based on those Patreon picks is Animal Man. So this is issue 9 of Grant Morrison's Animal Man, and feeds off some of the things set up in the last issue, but is also a very good good place to jump in as well. We have Cliff being picked on by other kids, which is kind of set up for a nice scene at the end of the story. But they're calling him Animal Boy and things like that, and making fun of him because obviously, Buddy's role is very public. People know who he is and all that. But the main thing is, so last issue, if you remember, Mirror Master caused chaos in the house, and Buddy's having fun playing with the new kitten, but Ellen is just pissed because the house is a complete chaos. And that's when Martian Manhunter shows up to have a conversation and talk about what's happened, but also to introduce the fact that they've got like a team on the Justice League for this kind of thing, where they show up and fix everything within 48 hours for free, because not everyone's a billionaire on the Justice League. So they're all pleased with it. And there's some jokes with this, like they tried to install laser defenses at one point, which almost killed Cliff. So they're like, hey, maybe not put in the lethal safety defense measures. That's an idea. So it's a really fun issue. There's a lot of stuff here as well that plays off the past setup, which is Buddy not telling them yet that his powers are acting up ever since the gene bomb went off. So he takes Martian Manhunter out for a conversation and they go flying. He can still fly okay, but whenever he tries to connect to a particular animal, he goes on the fritz and he ends up connecting to the wrong animal and things like that. And Jean says kind of, look, unfortunately, you can't just be in the Justice League for no reason. It's not a free ride. But your humanitarian stance, the way you speak up for animals, given what happened to Mars and the beauty of this planet, I actually think there's a lot of value in having someone like you on the team. So it's basically Jean giving the rub to Animal Man here. I mean, if you're already reading the book, you already give a shit anyway, but in a larger sense, it's kind of a nice thing for Jean to be giving this kind of opinion on Animal Man. And there's a joke at the end where Animal Man, after they're saying, hey, I'll take you to see someone who is helping others who have been affected by the gene bomb, and we'll get you back up and running at full speed. But there's a little joke at the end where Buddy just says, wait, how did Blue Beetle get on the Justice League? And then there's a pause for a panel, and then Martian Manhunter just goes, yeah, good point. So I enjoyed the little dig, and I like Blue Beetle, but I enjoyed the little jab, as it were. No pun intended. So you've got this, and then the fun ending to the issue as well is that when Cliff tells them that his bike got stolen and he was getting picked on at the start of the issue, Jean shapeshifts into Cliff and goes and scares the absolute shit out of the bullies by turning into a monster after telling them to leave him alone. So really, really nice little fun ending here for the characters. Although Cliff is still being a little bit shitty because of it, though, because he says to Buddy, hey, why don't you go and get a real superpowered dad? So he's impressed with Jean. He's very happy that Jean came to help, but he's a bit more of a dick about his dad right now. So not all is well in the household, as it were. But we do have other teases here for the other things that were first introduced in the last issue. The idea of this new villain coming, and whoever this character is who's beamed into this man named Jay Highwater, he goes to the house. He sort of has this dual feeling of recognizing things, but also knowing that he's seen them for the first time. And he picks up a book, and there's a note in it that says "Ask the Psycho Pirate," which just kind of made me go, "Oh, hello, what are we doing here?" Because there was a lot of very ominous, who's this villain coming from last issue? Who plays dice with the cosmos? Those teases were really cool last issue. And this book has two sort of teases relating to these things, I think. One is that with this character who's suddenly taken over this body and gets this psycho pirate note. And then the other one, at the end of the issue, is we cut to Africa. And I'm skimming to get there, because there's a lot of stuff with Cliff coming home and the turrets and laser guns trying to attack him. But when we get to the end tease, we go to Africa, and we have basically someone's freaking out, and the fire's blazing, and this sort of tribal character is saying that the earth speaks a great many dread, the ground's shaking, and these other characters ask him what it's saying, and he says there's a weeping in the ghost country, the gods are coming. So I think it's further teasing this really powerful being that's on its way, that was teased last issue. It's a nice tease though, because I think I like the building to the next villain, because the first arc had the stuff with Bognadovic, and it was really cool having him build up alongside the main story. What I like about this though is that it sort of has Buddy going through his own just ongoing shit. It's acknowledging that he's a member of the Justice League, he's having trouble with his kids. It's that family life and just job life, ongoing stuff with Buddy that I think really grounds Animal Man. But we're doing these little teases that are separate, that aren't as sort of directly connected yet, but they're clearly building to something big. And it almost feels like a threat that's too big for Animal Man. It's really? This feels like this should be a Justice League threat that we're building to here. We're bringing in Psycho Pirate references, we're talking about the gods coming. Call the Justice League. The real Justice, not even just the international. Get Superman and Batman and the Green Lanterns on the call here, because this feels like a really big epic thing that's coming. So that's actually kind of endearing, because it's like you're kind of rooting for Buddy to prove himself. You're rooting for Buddy to like really earn his spot and like solidify himself as a hero. So, but this is mostly just a fun issue, because it's these two workmen building things in the house, telling stories, and the kids, and Buddy playing with the kitten. It's all kind of adorable stuff. This is the sort of issue that makes you really like the characters. And I think it succeeds very well at doing that. And it's not that weird an issue. Obviously Grant Morrison can have the very weird issues that you know him for, or so you know them for. And this is like, no, this is maybe something that Grant doesn't do enough with the modern stories that I don't like as much, is just give me the slice of life, give me the heartwarming stuff where I can really attach to these characters. So really solid. I'm looking forward to the next issue, which I should get to a bit quicker. So I'm happy to give this a solid 8 out of 10. I thought the Martian Manhunter conversation with Buddy was really solid, helping him out, but also him meeting the kids and meeting the wife, also really enjoyable stuff. It was all very, very pleasant and endearing. So there you go. That's Owlman issue 8. Or did I say 9? Like I said 8.
I know you gave it an 8.
I gave it an 8, yes.
Yeah, so I don't remember what issue it was, though.
It was 9. It was issue 9. Next one's 10. There you go. I have deduced it. There you go. That's my Patreon book. So that'll take us out of the part of the show where we pick our favourites of the week, favourite panel / moment, favourite cover, favourite art, and we'll rank our top 5 books as well. So we will start off with panel / moment. Matt, take it away.
Oh boy, there's a couple that could come from here. I'm gonna go with Wonder Woman though, when she crushes Mjolnir. That was a good moment.
Sure. Connor?
Yeah, that was a pretty good moment. I'm also probably gonna go with Wonder Woman, and I'm gonna go with the I need not wisdom, for I am Thor.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
I have to go with the explosion and detective, particularly the oh shit the Batman has, and the build up to it. It was perfect comic book storytelling for me in terms of just suspense and build up. So that's my pick. Going to cover of the week. There's a few solid choices to look at. There's a fairly reasonable Urban Legends variant. It's painted.
There's some good options, but there is only one
nice.
correct choice.
I think the main cover for Future State Gotham is pretty solid. The variant for Rorschach is really nice. But yeah, I think I will probably land on the Rorschach variant. That's what I'm going with.
Mm-hmm.
Is the variant the one with the Watchmen strip down the side?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the one that's he's in the fog and he's kind of standing there all imposing. It's really. I mean, the main cover's good too. I mean, it's very simple, but it's the stylistic choice of the main cover is really nice too. It's saying a lot with its cover. Matt, what's your pick?
But you of course you picked the Matina one.
Yes. Well, I like the Matina covers. What can I say?
Yeah.
Matt, what are you picking?
I'm going with the Pride variant with Harley and Ivy. It's almost self-parody at this point.
Sure. Not surprised.
Yeah, that Bartel Pride variant is the only correct choice this week. Sorry, Pete, you were wrong.
Oh boy.
That's fine. I can't take it too seriously. The source is questionable. So favorite art of the week. Connor, you can start us off.
That's a lot tougher because there's a lot of like, I like the some of the art in Urban Legends,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know if it's consistent enough across the whole issue for me to say it's the best. Detective again, you got the backups, which have to factor in. I'll probably give it to Wonder Woman. It's Wonder Woman or Future State Gotham. I think it comes down to. I think I'll just edge it to Wonder Woman.
I really love Detective's art, but I think I just have to hand it to Fornes for Rorschach again, because
That's, to be
immaculate.
fair, I'm not reading that book, but I would probably have picked that because Fornes. I get it.
It's not even just that it's great. It's so suited to the story that it's telling as well. It's it's great stuff. There's some great transitions between flashbacks and present day stuff in that one as well, and it feels like there's clues in the art for the story, which is wonderful to like experience. So, what's your pick, Matt?
Yeah, normally I go with Fornes for Rorschach, but I kept saying this one's pretty understated. There was nothing that really knocked my socks off this time around.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go with Wonder Woman, because that one I wasn't expecting the art to be as solid as it was. So yeah, I'm shocked. I shocked myself.
Okay. All right. Well, in that case, top 5 of the week. Matt, go.
All right. Number 1 is Rorschach. Number 2 is Wonder Woman. Number 3 is Detective. Number 4 is Urban Legends. Number 5 is the Pride Special.
Connor?
Wonder Woman, Future State Gotham, Batman the Detective Comics, and then Batman Urban Legends. God damn, there's a lot of Batman this week.
There's a lot of Batman this week.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on Superman Day.
Superman Day, yeah. To be fair, Superman the comic should have been this week, but it got pushed. So Superman and Action are both in the same week later this month. So that may not have been like an intentional thing. It just had to move. But hey, I will go with Rorschach at number 1, Detective Comics at number 2, Urban Legends at number 3, Batman the Detective number 4, and then Future State Gotham at number 5, I guess. Yeah, I'm just double checking I'm not missing anything. I feel like I'm doubting myself. Yeah, a lot of Bat books this week. But hey, so there you go. I will tell you then what is coming next week from DC Comics, much of which we'll be talking about, some we won't be. You'll find out if you don't already know based on what we already read. But coming next week, we have The Flash 771, we have Nightwing 81, we have Justice League 63, we have Catwoman 32, Batman Fortnite 0 Point issue 5, Legends of the Dark Knight issue 2, digital reprints, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is our big new number 1, the Tom King book, issue mini, starting next week. We
I
have
a hint at what's gonna win art next week, but you know.
You say that, but there's Catwoman's out and Nightwing.
Yeah, Catwoman and Nightwing are both out. It's not a surefire.
Yeah,
bet.
but evilly makes your argument invalid. So, you know.
We'll see.
You know what she drew.
I know what she drew, but I think Redondo's more to my taste than Evilly is, so.
Yeah, but only Redondo didn't draw Wonder Woman issue 8.
Hey,
you sure about that?
Hey, who knows? I mean, Tom King's been on fire for a while now. Maybe this is going to be his next Crystal Skull.
Look, all I'm saying is maybe he didn't draw Wonder Woman issue 8 yet.
Yeah, true. It was reordering, renumberings,
Very possible.
relaunches. Sure.
We also have we have Superman Red and Blue issue 4, Truth and Justice issue 5, Scooby Doo Where Are You 110, and Represent issue 1. So
digital reprints as well. That one.
Okay, cool.
The Superman Red and Blue cover is.
Can I just say, next week's such a. I mean, I only have 5 issues next week. Can I just say, like, DC, could you not have put the 100-page thing out the week after Urban Legends and not the same week? Just a
that'd
thought.
be nice. I mean, we would have been an hour ago in Showtime for sure. Like,
I know.
I got Dynamite to watch. I got Indiana Jones to watch. I got stuff to do. DC.
Yeah,
I
I got
all my
E3 to
time.
watch.
I don't care about that.
It was just Ubisoft today. Nothing interesting.
Hey,
You know
shut
how
your
Pete
mouth.
feels about
You're
sports.
probably right, but
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't get excited over that stuff. Cool.
that's fine. The football's over for the night. It just finished like 5
Yes, but
minutes.
Matt,
Video games.
you've tortured me with enough stupid sports talk that I am more than happy to torture you with a little bit of games talk.
It's all right. Like
and that's fine, but as you said, it's just Ubisoft, and the way that you said it so dismissively, that means there was no news. So
next week, me and Matt will be shitting on the Canadians, I'm sure, but they were pretty good
the
tonight.
sports team and not the nationality. Let's be clear.
Yes.
In that case, I am rooting for the Canadians. Just I hope they beat Matt's team at the end. Okay.
To be fair, they're also representing the nationality. So at this point, so
Yes, I'm the whole North Division.
All right, that has been the show. Please do like and subscribe on YouTube. It's very important, especially since it's on the new channel now. It's on the Comics From The Multiverse channel, so please do hit the like and subscribe button. Hit the bell as well for notifications. You can, of course, support us over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV for as little as $1 per month. You do get early access at the $5 tier for the show. You get a day early, so please do go and have a look. I will take this time to thank our Patreon producers at the time of recording, which is Cindy Palacios, David Short, Bordnow, Al Treisman, Christopher Moy, David Brown, and Stanley. Not Stanley.
Stanley Excelsior.
Oh, also Tyler Hess. I had to scroll up. I was missing a name. I thought I looked a short
Tyler
list.
getting shafted there.
I thought I was like, you know what? I was like 7. I'm sure there's 8. And then I was like, where's the other name? And I was like, oh, there's Tyler at the top. I had to scroll up.
Tyler, make him read something shit for forgetting you.
Sorry, Tyler. But, I don't know. He was more American Vampire. He's a good.
He can take a month's break.
He's a good one. He wants more American Vampire.
He does give me to read as well. So
So go to Patreon. You can support us there. You know, get us at DC Comics Podcast on Twitter for updates, and you can pester us on there for things if you want. But that's pretty much it. I am very, very hungry, I have to say, so I'm going to go feast post show.
You feast.
Yeah.
Are you feasting on something good at least?
Don't know yet. I'll decide.
Good answer.
So it's an open season today.
I'm probably doing the same. Hey, they gave me 25% off on takeaway orders. I'm going to abuse it.
Why wouldn't you? So here we are. This has been DC Comics podcast, Comics From The Multiverse. Thank you very much for joining us once again. This has been episode 257. And, we'll see you next time. Keep reading DC Comics. And remember to never Crystal Skull anything. And the Speed Force.
I knew. Nuke the fridge and Fortune and the Glory Kid.